This conference will now be recorded.
You got a PowerPoint up there or something?
Yes. Mr. President, I'm ready. I apologize.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Zephyrhills Council Workshop. It's Monday, April 13th, 2026, and it's 5 p.m. Ricardo, would you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Charles Proctor,
Here.
Stephen Spina,
Here.
Lance Smith, Jody Wilkerson,
Here.
Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Mayor Munson,
Here.
William Poe. Here. Matthew Maggard. Your mic's off, sir.
All right.
Here.
Well, I guess we are here to talk about some of the projects that we're thinking about with this new coming year. I don't know who wants to start, but I mean, I have a list of things. I'm sure we all do. And Councilman Smith said he'd be a few minutes late, but he'll be here shortly. So, down the road. Oh, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Sorry about that.
I just, first of all, I want to commend the staff and department heads and everybody on all the projects that we actually have going on right now. You know, the citizens want a sidewalk. If you put in a mile and a half sidewalk, more to come that we're working on now. We're working on all the playground equipment. I understand Cruisen's going to get some new playground equipment now too. We've just finished up the Hercules Park. Got Zephyr Park and the City Yard going. Clock Plaza on 8th Street, 1st Street, 5th Avenue. So honestly, for me, I think we need to just make sure we keep plugging along on the stuff we've got going. And one of the biggest things that I always hear about is traffic. And I know we did a thing on hotspots a while ago. And I think that we need to probably focus on those hotspots. And I know a lot of those will be, will have to be partnerships or in conjunction with this county or the state, depending on where the hotspot is located. And then there's discussion of a community center, Alice Hall or whatever, new community center. And I know we're just kind of into discussions on that. So in my opinion, I think we just keep plugging along with what we have going, finishing things up, and then really concentrate on the traffic part, because that's the part that people are always talking about is the traffic. And I know some of it is out of our hands, some of it that they complain about. But I know we did identify some hot spots. So I think that's, for me, that's really what I would say we need to look at.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Councilman Spina?
Okay. I was of the same mind. I thought I wrote here that we need to keep our projects in line due to the City Yard and Zephyr Park projects. I think we still need to do some park improvements. We've talked about the pavilion at Cruisen Field and the new equipment building. I'm not sure what the status of those are. I haven't gotten any feedback on that. And I think we need to do a little bit of landscaping, trees mostly, at Ellis Harrell Park and at the dog park. Sticking to the lighting, the parks, I think a couple of them, we could probably use some improved lighting. So that's something we could add in to what we're doing, and maybe garbage cans. I think one thing we'll be working on next year will be the drainage plans, because we'll have the drainage study and the drainage impact fee or whatever that's going to be. I also brought up the hot spots. I know we have I guess, some of the design in place, but again, you know, I don't know the status of those. I understand there's been a hiccup with the one at Geiger and 301. So we need to try to resolve that one. I'd like CRA just to look into the improvement to the alley right out here between 5th and 6th Avenues and 7th and 8th Street. And then we have sidewalks that I'm assuming are in this year's budget, but I'm not positive. The 6th Avenue sidewalks and the other ones on Zephyr Avenue and some of those areas. So that's basically what and I want to reintroduce the idea of hiring a full-time civil engineer and hire him him or her within the utility department and partially funded through Public Works.
Is that all?
That's it.
Councilwoman Wilkerson?
Thank you. Well, like the other folks, number one on my list is the hotspots. I continue to have interactions with residents regarding these matters. Could we, do you have, I mean, this kind of put you on the spot, Billy, and I apologize for that, but, and Shane, but I have the list here from our hotspot legend. I know that County Road 54 and Wire Road 12th Street, that was designed, and have we completed those? We did some work there, I know. Because this is a 2-year-old map here, this hotspot.
Which one is that? I'm sorry.
County Road 54 and Wire Road / 12th Street. I believe that's completed. I know.
No, it's not. None of them are.
So the ones that we have.
North Avenue and 12th Street, that's done. I know that's done.
Well, the ones that have designs that are being worked on right now are Pretty Pond and 301.
Okay.
Wire.
US 301 Wire Road.
Yeah, Wire and Pretty Pond.
Fort King and Island,
Geiger
and
301.
North Avenue, we started to look at, and 8th Street.
North Avenue, 8th Street. Those are the 5 that we have plans that are being kind of designed right now.
Okay.
The issue at 301 and Geiger, we have a land issue. The property, the ABC Pizza, there's some land that's needed for the turning lane. So we're trying to work through that, and we're trying to work through that. Pretty Pond at 301, there's a drainage issue that's being worked on, and it's a matter of, do we co-locate into existing ponds or do we put vaults in? Just recently, and I need to send another email, but just send an email of a location that might be able to accommodate the drainage. So that's about design short of drainage.
Yep.
Sorry, let me step back. 301 at Geiger is designed. It's just acquiring the land to do the improvement. Pretty Pond and Wire, the design or the conceptual layout is done. We're working on finalizing, or maybe they are finalized, the surveys of the 4 corner clips that are needed. So then we can, Todd has spoken to the town homeowner at the southeast corner, trying to acquire that property, because all 4 corners we need to acquire property. And so we're working on acquiring the property on those 4 corners.
North Ave and 8th Street is
Probably the least.
Yeah, least
Far
furthest along, yeah.
And then Island and Fort King, we're waiting on
Yeah,
county
just
approval.
County right-of-way use permit approvals, but that one's fully designed with the westbound right turn lane and a sidewalk.
And for the record, it's 5:08 and Councilman Smith has arrived.
Thank you. So a couple of other items on my list regarding park improvements. So at some point in the last year or so, we talked about breaking out the cemetery from parks and creating kind of a different way of tracking the funding for that. So we have, my understanding is we have some money in trust, it's held in trust, or when people pay for these spots. The maintenance of those spots, I'm not sure if we have money reserved for that. And then I know that we've spent a lot of money on designing and have started the renovation of the cemetery. But is there any advantage in doing that? And is now the time to do that, to break out the cemetery from parks?
Where would you put it?
Well, it would still go under parks, but I think right now there's just, all the money just goes into a lump
No, it
fee.
doesn't. It goes into a cemetery.
No. So right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Ricardo, this is not, cemetery plots when we sell them do not go into perpetual care line item. They just go into the general fund.
They just go into the general fund, is my understanding.
Right. So the general fund is funded, or sorry, general fund. The Parks Department, cemetery specifically, is funded through the general fund. There is not a perpetual care line item for the ongoing maintenance at the cemetery. There is a line item, and I don't know what it's titled, the mausoleum line item, I believe. Yes, no, somebody? I need a little lifeline here, guys.
I believe it's called cemetery reserves.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, ask, because those are my questions is, and only because I'm not quite sure, Steve, you have a benefit, you've got the benefit of history on your side, but I'm just concerned that we have $350,000, but do we have a plan to spend that money? And is it, is there a process in place, and do we need to set that up?
So currently, there's not a process in place. If there is a project or a cemetery needs, we can and do pull money out of that fund to make those repairs. But as far as a process or a plan of exactly how those funds are spent, we do not have that in place at the moment. Other than the CIP, I mean, if we know roads need to be paved or I don't know, trees need to be planted, then we can pull it out of there.
Great. Okay. So in your opinion, no modifications need to be made at this time?
I don't believe at this time it needs to be, but I mean, we can always have that conversation.
Okay. Equipment. Okay. So in one of the things we talked about, Councilman Spina mentioned parks. And I also believe that the park work that's been done to date is excellent. And I can't wait to see, where we're going with Zephyr Park. And, but there are a couple of things that I've talked with residents. So the Veterans Park, for example, I generally visit that every day. So from about 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., there's probably 25 or 30 people who visit that park. And now in the afternoons, since we have the playground equipment, there's a lot of kids there in the afternoon now, at least 20 I've noticed in the afternoons after school. So one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people who work out in that and use the walkway, a couple of folks have asked me about workout spots. Now in Zephyr Park, I believe years ago, I worked with Mr. Vandenberg and they designed some workout spaces. So as you're doing your circuit, you can stop and do leg raises or do whatever with the equipment. And since Zephyr Park's going to be out of commission for so long, I was hoping that we might be able to do that at Veterans Park. So I know that we don't have that money in the budget today, but the question is that in the plan for the works? Yes, Ms. Hamilton.
So currently, right now, we are working to design Veterans Park to include the items that the DAR ladies. So that's going on. Are you thinking about doing the workout stuff as well?
I
We
would,
can add it if you
sure.
would like.
And I mean, I guess the question is, can we add it to the budget? That's the reason we're having this discussion. Do we have money in the budget? Can we add it to the budget?
No, it wouldn't, it would be in next
It would
year's
be for,
budget.
so maybe we design it and then it gets funded in a later year.
Okay.
Okay.
That was my question.
Thank
Thank you.
Oh, good. Look into that. That'd be awesome. Thank you. I'm going to make a note of that. Still looking for a pet park on the north side of town. We get, Gunner Park gets lots of activity now, and people are really talking about what a great job, especially the seating and the shade and things like that. So lots of activity there, but I have had requests from lots of other residents to have a north side pet park. And then lastly is code enforcement. So I understand that recently staff attended a seminar that was hosted by Tyler. And I understand that there may be an opportunity to integrate a software similar to See-Click-Fix that might actually save us some money in the long run, because the two of those softwares work together to integrate with the building officials software. So I don't see Jackie here, but or Calvin, but I think that, oh, there you are. Can you talk to that just for a moment, Calvin?
Yes, it's called Civics Plus,
Okay.
I believe is what it's called, and it integrates right into with Tyler. And there's actually an app on that you can download onto the phone to make it easier to submit a complaint or an issue. And that was something that she just got back. Today was her first day back, so she wanted to definitely talk about getting that integrated. And I don't know if we'd keep See-Click-Fix as well, have both of them. But I know she really liked the Civics option, and it goes right on the website. There's a AI that generates answers for questions that you can put in and stuff like that.
It just seems like if we could integrate, the systems we have, because right now there's a lot of manual coordination between See-Click-Fix and the building and code enforcement software.
Right. This would put it all in one spot, and you'd actually be able to put an app on your phone.
And the idea would be that you'd have automatic reminders. So after 30 days, if the issue isn't resolved, then the action needs to be taken. And maybe that gets delegated to, a part-time administrative person instead of one of our code officials, that sort of thing. I think there's some opportunity for savings and for improved technology there. So,
Yes, definitely.
okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Councilman Smith, do you have any concerns for the upcoming year?
I do, but I came ill prepared. I've been sick for the last 2 weeks, so I'll get with Billy on it. But an interesting, you brought that up about the code enforcement. I didn't realize that See-Click-Fix did not migrate the issues over to code enforcement. So they don't.
They're integrated, but the Civics, from my understanding, is it's made specifically for, and I guess it's not called EnterGov anymore. It's Enterprise something, I believe. They changed the name of it. So it's a little bit different, but it's just more user friendly and easier to track.
And you said something, do you think it takes the place of it or it sits on top of it?
No, it would be different. You could have both of them if you wanted to, I believe. Or just get rid of See-Click-Fix or not use Civics. It would depend. You could have two or one or the other or whatever you wanted to do.
Well, and on any of those items or any new software, training is pretty important because you can get the greatest module, but if you don't know how to use it, you don't know the capabilities,
Exactly.
you got to have everybody invested in it.
Jackie said it was pretty easy to understand.
Good. That's it.
Well, it looks like a lot of us are on the, what's that? Oh, Madam Mayor, I'll go last.
Okay, thank you. So all the same kind of things. Sidewalks, obviously, I just want to make sure that we're designing at the same time we're working on a plan, that it's not being dropped and we're not ready to do a new plan next year. Because I know this year, I don't think we did much sidewalks this year. We did a lot of design for them though, right?
Shane LeBlanc, Public Works Director. The sidewalk projects that we do have going on right now are in permitting with SwiftMud.
Okay.
They're 90% design, and once SwiftMud signs off on the exemption, which we typically get for sidewalks, we can go to bid and do the construction. So
Perfect. That's good. I just want to make sure that we're just working in unison, like already what you want budgeted for the following year that you're designing next year. So they just keep going instead of stalling out. And with that, anytime we can add lighting to any area, especially the parks, those kind of areas would be great. When Jody was talking about a pet park in the north, and have we thought about in the interior of Hercules under those trees having a pet area? Has anybody thought about that area? Is there anything slated? I know in the beginning that we were going to talk about putting a frisbee golf, but that fell through. Is that an area that you could do an enclosed in the tree zone?
It would be small.
It wouldn't have to be very big, but enough for some dogs to run around and enjoy, because they're out there, they're walking, the dogs out there all the time. For sure. One of the big things that people keep saying, and I get it, bathrooms, that we can't have a bathroom at every park. As much as it would be nice for us to have one at every park, obviously we can't, or we don't, or we don't think we can. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Well, some are neighborhood parks. So,
Some are
you know, you ought to
neighborhood
be
park,
able to,
right.
like
But-
even at Depot Park, a lot of those kids come right from, they should be able to run home.
Right, if they're close by. Shepherd's Park, that's one of the people keep saying is how come there's not a bathroom? I know Shepherd's Park is on people's radars, Gail's radar, to design out there and update those huts, make a whole new thing. And maybe we do make a bathroom that's public out there when you do that, because there's really, people are coming not just from the neighborhoods to those parks now with the new equipment, especially the ones that have the zip lines. They're loving those. And that's one of the calls that I am constantly getting is, why isn't there a bathroom and at a park? And I'm going, well, bathrooms are hard. And hence brings me to the other question. I guess we're getting a lot of vandalism at the Hercules bathrooms. Is that accurate? And I thought we had cameras to kind of help with this. What are we doing to help with that?
Can't have bathrooms inside the toilets
No, not inside, but people going in and out.
or cameras inside the bathrooms.
No,
Yeah,
right.
that's where the issue is. That's the big issue, is that they're going in the bathroom and tearing stuff up, spreading certain things on the walls. So that's where the issue is. I mean, we have, anybody jump in anytime. I mean, the vandalism in the park is typical of any other park. It's inside the bathrooms that we're having the major issue.
And it's tough, we do have cameras that are monitored by PD monitors them, and then we monitor them, but you don't know when the damage occurs. One of our guys comes in and opens up the park first thing in the morning, it's like, oh, somebody threw a Culver's milkshake all over the wall, or that's the kind of stuff that we're running into, but you don't know who did it or when did it or when they did it. It's kind of tough to pin down.
Yeah, well, and I know I keep trying to think of how do we work on this, and is there such a thing to have, I know we're short on police staff, it's kind of hard to have a dedicated police officer over there, but is there a way to have somebody over there every hour or something. I mean, it's just sad that we built this beautiful park and then people are
But I would
destroying
caution you about what's vandalism in
what's,
everybody's definition
True.
as opposed to statutory.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
So unfortunately for Shane, some of it's more of just cleaning issues.
Cleaning, okay,
Whereas it becomes a police related matter when there's damage.
okay.
So yes, he probably is dealing with cleaning issues almost every day.
Mhm.
But as far as damage goes, I wouldn't say that's every day.
Okay.
But I can tell you, we do regular patrols in the park. I have a log that I can show you when we do them and what we check for.
Okay.
It's being checked. All the
Okay.
parks are being checked.
They
Okay.
actually get out of the vehicle and
They
go?
do,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
They go in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we solve that. And you're right, what somebody's verbiage of vandalism is probably different. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, to clarify, I mean, we've had, to Chief's point, we've had soap dispensers that are ripped off the walls,
Mhm.
clearly vandalism. We've had, when you go in there and there's, ice cream cone that's been thrown kind of at the corner of the ceiling and the wall, and it's drained all the way down the wall. There's feces that gets spread in
yeah,
places.
that's what I've heard.
So it's that kind of, that's your buffer points, right? Of what we're dealing with out there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, to Chief's point, it's not always stuff's broken. It's kids are going in there. I say kids, people are going in there and, we'll pull all the toilet paper off, pull all the paper towels out, bust, spread food or things like that. So it's a kind of a wide gamut.
Maybe we should close them and put a sign on, say, closed due to vandalism under repair, and let people police it themselves. Because, it's an endless thing then. Every park, every bathroom gets trashed, then don't give them to them. Shut them
Yeah.
down.
Well, or put the sign up that says if you see an issue,
Your mic's off. Sir.
contact
Yeah,
contact C-Click Fix.
Yeah.
Because if we shut the bathrooms down,
Well, do that first
Yeah.
and then do the back.
well, I think it's up to all of us, and I'm guilty of it. I'll see somebody doing something and I'm like, hey, I should say, hey, stop, what are you doing,
Mhm.
But I think it might be an educational thing that is up to everybody. And I think that it's just part of the cost of doing business in parks is you're going to have that,
yeah.
So
probably.
we've got a budget for it. Somehow make the bathrooms where you can go in there and I'm sure they are, hose them out, clean them very quickly. But unfortunately, I think that's a cost of doing business and maybe trying to encourage people to report it, I guess. I don't know. All municipalities must have this issue.
Yeah, probably. And I like that idea that if we can have a sign where they can call immediately to report, I just that's just one thing that keeps being brought up and I'm going, well, we can't shut it down because you've got these young families out there and when you have you've got to have a bathroom to be able to go to for sure. So, all right, good. Thank you. Sorry,
No
Chief.
problem.
Appreciate you. When I went, Rodney and Will and I went and spoke a couple of weeks ago, and we brought the hotspot map with us when we spoke. And when I go and do that, we're going to keep doing those things to talk about that. So I'm glad that that's high priority to you because that's high priority. What I'm saying is high priority. So I hope it continues to be high priority because we just need to make sure that we're not ignoring it, that we didn't spend all this money and then not fix anything. And then Alice Hall is top of my list for sure. So I just want to make sure that we find a way to figure this out. So that's what I have. No, sir. Thank you.
Well, it looks like a lot of us are on the same page. For me, like you all, I get a lot of complaints about the traffic. And my number one thing was for us to start working on the hotspots. And my second biggest thing is the Zephyr Park, continue to get that moving forward. The city yard, I know we're all working on that. Playground equipment at Cruisin', I think would be nice. And the lighting in the streets, especially uptown here and around the whole area, the lighting is important. But, and my final thing would be Alice Hall, what we're gonna do, when we're gonna do it, and where we're gonna do it. But my number one priority is working on the hotspots and getting traffic moving smoother. That's what I have. Saying that, is there any other
Well,
discussion?
can I just add something to it? So, and something we need to consider too, the state's been talking about doing something with property taxes. We don't know what it's going to be, if it'll be anything or whatever, but we need to keep that in mind as we're working on the budget is, the potential for, the last few years, our budget has increased quite a bit each year, but we've had the luxury of a lot of growth and the fact that property values have gone up. So we've kind of got a little windfall of cash and we're using it. We listed all those things that we're currently doing right now. But as we move forward, we need to consider that, there could be a potential of something done with property taxes. So we don't want to kind of overextend ourselves as we look at that.
Yeah, and I think, tied in with the hotspots should be, intersection lighting. We've had we brought this up at a recent meeting, a lot of pedestrian deaths in the area. And a lot of them are out on 54 that don't impact us that way, but they do community wise. But I think that we need to try to do, I think we need more lighting in the parks and I think we need more lighting on our streets. And then, like I mentioned, the drainage plants are going to have to come into effect because we'll be implementing that drainage fee in October.
Have we heard any more about this property tax thing? I haven't heard a lot about it on the news lately.
Officially, no.
So what's your thoughts? You think it's gonna be on the ballot?
I don't know. My personal thought is no, it will not be. Not this year. But
Well, I hope you're right.
I don't have any official communication or crystal ball.
I know
but
that.
Yeah, I don't think it will be.
We just haven't been hearing as much about it as we were there for a while.
Right.
So I think I get it. People don't want to pay taxes on their homes because you really never feel like you own it. But on the same hand, it would really tie our hands financially. We would lose a lot of money that we need to move forward with the city. So
A couple of weeks ago, they had two special elections at Hillsborough County. And the Tampa Bay Times interviewed people at the polling places and asked them about the property tax question. And most of them said they wouldn't support it because they said they're just going to rob Peter to pay Paul. They'll get it somewhere else. What are we going to do about police and fire? So to me, they were asking intelligent questions about, kind of it's a shell game. So, yeah. We'll put coins in the toilet at the bathrooms. You have to pay to get it.
Yeah, I mean, so there is, I think the conversation may start up again because there are a couple of special sessions that are about to occur. The bill that the House passed requires that municipalities do not, or the property tax, whatever is decided, you cannot impact the police and fire budgets. They must remain the same. It's HB. I don't know the number though. Sorry. But yeah, so the Senate has not passed anything yet. There is a House bill, there's a special session that's coming up, I think next week or the week after. But nothing official has come out yet.
And everywhere I go, when people ask me this, I tell them exactly what Steve's saying. You're going to pay. It's just a matter of how. At least now you know what you're paying. If things get changed, you just have no idea what's going to be charged where. And none of us want a state tax.
What I tell them is that tell the legislature to go after home insurance.
Yeah, really.
Last year, my home insurance doubled and my property taxes went up 10 or 20%. So, they're fighting the wrong thing. So, but the insurance companies support their campaigns and their dark money, and we don't. So
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
mhm.
Is there any more discussion on things for the upcoming budget?
I have some things, I don't know if they're really budget related, but I just wrote down some things. All right, so we were notified that we have settled the claims at Water's Edge. I have two questions. Are we going to move those units off that one line? However that was worked out? I don't know the whole process of that.
At the moment, no, there was a line that was put in inside the manhole that connects the inflow to the outflow inside that manhole. And it's a sweeping PVC pipe that does not allow off gassing inside that manhole. And so there's not an off gassing issue in that manhole any longer.
Okay.
And that was, so that has eliminated the need to relocate that line to that other manhole.
Okay, and are we talking with Jones Edmund or Edmund Jones about being reimbursed? Or-
Staff is not. PRM is subrogating with both the contractor and Jones Edmonds.
And why was any new clue why that pipe, nobody knew that that was something that had to be done?
I couldn't answer that. That's an engineering thing. What I can tell you is that the engineer that we brought in to look at it said that, it could be done that way. He would not have. But I don't know if I don't want to say it was an oversight because I don't know. I think it has eliminated, by putting that pipe in, it has eliminated the off gassing.
Wow,
So
that's a big deal.
yeah, I'll just leave it at that,
Yeah.
the piping, eliminated the off gassing inside that manhole.
So is this a good lesson learned next time we do one?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the lesson I get is don't put a manhole or lift station next to houses, at
Well,
least that close.
Obviously, for sure,
And
but
if we do, there's going to be air scrubbers
yeah.
Well, I
a
think
couple other things.
I think it's a growth issue that, they added so many other developments into that and they plugged them all in there. But we have to make sure that when we're adding or annexing or building, that our engineers know they can't overload or,
Yeah.
maybe
Agreed.
take the least expensive route
Right.
for that.
Agreed.
Another thing I wrote down was the house on 6th Avenue, Pam Johnson's home, that had flooding in her septic tank during Hurricane Milton.
Yep.
And there is now utility line right to her house because of the road we did for the National Guard. So have we advised her that the line is there and ready? And have we also advised her on how to get disaster recovery?
Pasco
assistance?
County has reached out to Ms. Johnson.
They have?
Yep, I talked to Chuck Lane. I don't know what his title is with Pasco County, but I have not followed up with Ms. Johnson, but he assured me that he had spoken to her and gave her the information.
Does she still have damage at her house?
No, but
The question is to hook in, that her septic was
Oh,
was
yeah.
overcome
It
with
was under the
stormwater.
home, but it was-
Okay,
She's not in the city, but she's in our utility
Right,
service.
right. okay. I was just gonna say if it needs help, let me know.
No, they're okay, but
Okay.
the connection and all that should be paid for by the Milton money that the county has. That's what. With our development queue, what is the status of that? How many people? I think we had like 19 people on the queue or something, developments for water and that we put in the queue.
Yeah, we have a list. I'm not sure the exact number of the total projects on the list, but yeah, we have a residential list of projects that were included with the updated permit with the Water Management District.
Or is there action on that or people connecting? Are they?
Well, one thing
bringing
that we
anyone
talked
in?
about was, Billy and I had some preliminary, along with John's preliminary discussions about maybe we look at that list, and if they're not moving forward, maybe they come off the queue list, pending what we end up doing. Council decides for the moratorium, but that's one action that we've talked about. Maybe if there's no activity, maybe those are taken off the list, and that therefore other projects could move forward.
Right, because the water use permit number is dependent on being developed and used. So if we have people there that aren't doing anything, we're either use it or lose it. So, okay.
Yeah, that is one of the key points to our water use permit is, I think it's every 5 years we have to, do you know? All right, I think it's every 5 years, January, every 5th year, we have to report what our demand is. And if we don't have the demand, there's the opportunity for SwiftMud to claw back or reevaluate and reappropriate that permit or those permitted gallons. So I mean, we'll get into it, but my opinion at the moment is we probably need to lift the moratorium. But that's a conversation we're gonna have to have, because if we lift that, it's not just in the city limits, it's, in the service area, and, and what does that mean for development, what we approve or don't approve. But there is always that concern, is if the development does not happen, we could potentially lose some of our permit. And to your earlier question, of those projects that are on the queue, what's happening with them? There are some that it's radio silence. And then there's others that are having conversations, but nothing really is full steam ahead. There's a couple that are smaller, maybe 50, 60 units, but the vast majority of them are not moving at the moment.
Yeah, that's important. And then do we give higher priority to people in the city as opposed to the service area, or are they all equal because it's a service area?
For the queued projects?
Or any project?
Any project? I think that's a conversation that we need to have. We don't have a standard at the moment. And I think that's something that we need to discuss, to get some council or get direction from council. But then also I think we need to look at the legalities of.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. There might be, if you have a service area, they may be as eligible as somebody.
They'll have
down
all the same
street.
priority ranking.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one of those.
We've had some discussions internally with the planning department about that very exact topic, and, maybe it's, in town, CRA in town, downtown, is a. Outside the city, maybe outside the JPA, but look at those areas and assess and look at, prioritize, if we're gonna go outside the city limits, where are the priorities that we feel are highest priority if we're gonna allow new development. So we're talking about that. We'll continue some of those discussions in the visioning that we've been doing. We've got another visioning coming up with the chamber coming up this week, and yeah, the future land use element. We'll talk a little bit about policy for that as well.
Okay, thank you. Another issue I wanted to bring up was Skydive City. They have the new ownership now, I guess.
Finally closed.
And has there been any firm discussion of relocating that trailer park that's there? Because I've been told that we're not eligible for some FAA funds as long as they're there.
Correct. Yeah, I'll let.
So that's kind of a budget issue for next year if we're cut out of FAA grants.
Well, we've not, well, I'll let Nathan answer. So we're still able to get, yeah, I'll let Nathan answer.
We get safety grants, I understand, but not general grants.
Nathan Coleman, Airport Director. Yeah, we've had discussions recently with Skydive City. They still want the RV park to be relocated across the street. Problem is the FAA is still was original FAA land, so they will not approve it. So we haven't submitted a new corrective action plan because we're trying to avoid, I guess, avoid the lawsuit, basically. So we're at an impasse, basically. So if we just continue as we are, we let the lease run out, and then when the lease runs out, we do an RFP and we find another user. I mean, that's what my recommendation would be if we want to turn a corner. Because right now we're coming up to a crossroad, basically. If we want to be recreation, we continue and we work out a deal, allow them to have the RV park. But to have the RV park, they want a 15, 20-year lease extension. So you're locking yourself into that role. So really, we're at the point, I would ask council, what direction do you want us to go?
Well, I think that's a conversation we have to have. What kind of grant money are we not eligible for?
Well, we get 150,000 a year entitlements, and then you have your AIP funds, which if you have a project, then can range anywhere from 250 to $1 million. But what we know we're losing is roughly $350,000 a year that you're losing, that you're sitting on the table that rolls over after 4 years. So what would the buyout be if we don't, I mean, I guess what would it cost us in grant money? And I know, I mean, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, I don't have this stuff with me, but it was, I think they were roughly wanting $7 million. Was that what that letter was,
I think
Billy?
so. Yeah, I think that was last, it was in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Skydive City wanted 7 million?
For a buyout.
How long is the lease still for?
Well, it expires in 2030.
2030.
There is a 5-year option to give them to 2035 that the city basically granted to the leaseholder. We should hold that, reserve that right. There is a clause in the lease that I think we could stand on. I would ask Matt to really clarify this, is if the FAA and the city, that at time where you have the rules and regulations are in place that says they would abide by them, we could hold our hat on that. We tried to use that, but they were still wanting to sue us, basically. So I don't know if at the end of 2030, we could say, we're not going to grant that 5 years, and we're going to hold this particular language in the lease and end it at 2030. But it's still going to be a legality issue. It's going to be a battle. But I don't know how that would fall out. I mean, that's something I would really ask the city attorney what his thoughts would be on that.
When were you planning to bring this to us to discuss then?
We've been trying to work this out. Trying to figure out, do we want to go into a lawsuit? Do we not want to go into a lawsuit? We think we're moving things forward. We thought there was, once the new ownership came in, things would change. We've issued 2 corrective action plans that the FAA denied. So we can bring it to council at whatever point
Well,
you'd like to.
we need to talk about the future of the airport. I mean, we need to be in on the conversation if it's going to be recreation or not, or if it's going to be more industrial or general aviation. So those are conversations we have to have as a body here.
Right.
Well, and I think you don't want to wait until the last minute.
Right.
We need to start them now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it'll
Especially
take
if we're
that long.
losing
Right.
300
Well,
and
in the direction we've had, we've already had conversations with all 3 recreational users out there that at the end of their contracts, they will be going out to RFP for those 3 locations. And so all 3 of those property owners know that. So those conversations have been had.
I mean, we're at a tough point. I mean, it's tough because I'm a certified skydiver. I mean, the Zephyrhills been a great recreation airport. I mean, it's good for everybody. We do have a current master plan that shows a certain approach speed. So like Billy or Mr. Poe, sorry, had just stated that we've had them discussions of letting them run out. And then the city's in a prime position to go, do we want to turn this corner? And then, I mean, we've got a user out there right now. It's got a Falcon 2000, King Air, an Epic. He has 2 Cirruses. I mean, so we're already starting to see that happen.
Well, that's what we need to have the conversation then.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a good conversation, and it makes me nervous because this has been going on since 2018. And I'm trying to remember everything off the top of my head, but
We don't need that.
yeah. So
So
what kind of, I mean, later, do you want to have a discussion?
To better answer your question about when we were going to bring this to you with regards to the issue with Skydive City is we've been working through it. I mean, obviously before we consider litigation, that's something we would discuss with all of you in detail. But we've had multiple runs at corrective action plans with the FAA that we thought, based on our feedback with our local FAA people, that had a real shot of being approved. We were just trying to get to the end of the Skydive City lease without being in violation. And then we had a change of ownership. We submitted more corrective action plans that we thought would get approved or had a chance of getting approved. Each of those taking, 4 to 6 months to get a formal response back. And I think we're just recently at the point where the last one was denied. So that's what we've been doing, is trying to resolve it with the help of the new owner and with the FAA, but it looks like that's not going to work. So I think that's discussing the options with the council is probably something that'll have to happen pretty soon.
Thank you.
That's a good question, please. Thank you. So if we permitted the lease to run out, let's say it's 2035, at that point, they have zero leverage. I mean, we can just say the trailer park goes. You can stay open as a recreational business, even if we decide that we want to stay a recreational airport, or we have some parameters that make it more appealing to be a general aviation airport. I think that's the bottom line, is that people who are bringing jets in don't want skydivers in the air where they're bringing their planes in and out. But we have to look at how much traffic do we really have. So we have to balance that. And really we have to look at, maybe we need an outside expert to look at it and say, hey, here's where you can stand to make money on this. Then I would ask, are we making a killing on, on the rent that we get from Skydive City? Really, it's more of a, the impact they have economically on every time they have a big event like the Easter Boogie or Turkey Shoot. People come and they spend money in hotels and restaurants and things like that.
It's not a huge amount now, but it's the biggest rent payer out there currently.
Right.
So do you get rid of the only thing that you're making money on basically right now?
Right. But in exchange for $350,
A year. And so 10 more
$350,000.
years is $3.5 million.
With the
that could be used-
$350,000 that we're losing from the available grant monies.
Right.
That could build us to the next level. So that's what I'm saying, is that a wash? That would be the question. Can we backfill can we backfill that with real, national credit tenants that want general aviation? And that's really kind of a business plan, more of an issue than it is a council decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think, staff's not we're not actively working to get rid of Skydive City. But what we would do is, if Skydive City is not there, just like any other business, we would do an RFP. And once we got those proposals, then we would, whoever that best proposal is, we would bring them in. And I think from conversations I've had is that the rent that is there probably could be more than what we're currently receiving, just because of the age of the lease.
Right.
And the terms that were agreed to at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm sure Nathan and Billy both have in general been thinking about the long-term plan, but really focus have been trying to get some kind of modification in place to be in compliance with FAA. And future of the airport's kind of a separate conversation, but if the FAA is saying Now we're at a point where all of our attempts to modify and do an action plan to get approval, so we're not in violation of the grant assurances. Now we're at a point where maybe we do have to pick, do we go into litigation, potentially break the lease? And what are the pros and cons of that? What are the risks of that? I think, we can get into all that. I think there is a provision in the lease that talks about that the tenant will abide by all FAA grant assurances, but the same lease says you can have a RV park. So it's not as cut and dry as, oh, you violated the grant assurances. I think that's going to be a litigated issue of, did they justifiably rely on the lease language that says they could operate that even if it was in violation? If
Yes.
we're the ones that have to abide by the grant assurances, we should not put that in our lease. That's my problem with it and why we haven't gone that direction. But the amount of money we're potentially leaving on the table, it may be something worth revisiting.
Well, it's almost 5 minutes till 6. I think Billy has a good idea on where we're.
Your mic's off, sir.
Yes, it's almost 6 o'clock, and I think Billy knows where we all stand on what we want to do in this upcoming budget. I'm hoping we're going to have to schedule a few more meetings, I'm sure, on the budget. But if there's no other questions, I'll close the meeting and we'll take a 5-minute break until the regular council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to close the meeting.
How are you doing?
Hello.
There we go. Yeah. Wow. It's through your city. You've been sick, brother?
Yeah, man, been fighting for about close to 2 weeks.
Can you get better?
Yeah, I think so. And then all of a sudden I wake up the next day.
Whatever this thing is, it's going around.
What? It's bad, man.
I'm surprised you came.
I thought about that. I was asleep and I'm like, woke up, I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I hope you get better quick.
one way or the other.
You're a trooper. You came to the meeting. I stayed.
It's just, it's such an extended time.
Yeah.
It is hard.
Are you ready, Ricardo?
Yes, Mr. President.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Zephyrhills Regular City Council meeting. It's Monday, April 13th, 2026, and it's 6 PM. Ricardo, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Charles Proctor,
Here.
Stephen Spina,
Here?
Lance Smith,
Here.
Jody Wilkerson,
Here.
Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Mayor Munson,
Here.
William Poe,
Here.
Matthew Maggard.
He's here. He stepped out for a moment.
All right, thank you. Now we have Pastor Steve Ezariah, I believe. Did I say that right?
Ezra?
Ezra, excuse me. I'm sorry, sir. You're going to do the prayer and then we'll do the pledge. Would you all please stand?
Almighty God, we thank you for the freedom that we have to gather here tonight, for the opportunity to serve this community. We ask for your wisdom, for your guidance on our mayor, council members, all who lead our city. Grant them integrity and courage and a heart to do what is right, even when it's difficult. Lord, we acknowledge that true justice and mercy and flourishing come from you, to help us to love our neighbors as ourselves and to seek the good of our city, not for our glory, but for yours. We pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
All right, moving forward, we have citizens' comments. Do we have anyone signed up, Ricardo, to speak?
Yes, Mr. President, I have several people signed up today.
All right, if you want to start calling them down.
Yes, sir. Kristen Taplin. Hopefully I said your name right.
If you would state your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Oh, my name is Kristen Taplin. I'm speaking on cottages at Abbott Station, located at 6058 Abbott Station Drive. I provided some pictures. My reason today is to ask about a possibility for temporary flag options. I do understand that in 2015, you created a code ordinance that you're not allowed to use flutter flags to market your business. However, we are on private property, and visualization to direct people where we're located is causing a problem. It's affecting some of the other businesses in the area because they're visiting their businesses thinking that's where they're supposed to go to lease units. So I wanted it to be considered that maybe there is an option for application to permit those signs when it is on private property. If it meets a certain criteria, If it's not impairing or impeding someone's line of sight, it doesn't impair someone's driving. I know Mr. Smith is in the same area that where I am, and some of the businesses have had, unfortunately, my prospects visiting their locations because they don't know where to find us while we're still in development. So it is a question or a request to be considered to maybe do an application. And if there is a requirement for those flags, that if we meet it and we pay a permit fee, that we're allowed to fly those flags. So, and I do have some examples of the flags in our location. I also did a site map to show where we're located and where we would like to put those flags during that time and when we are actually fully developed.
May I ask you one quick question? Are you a new business?
We are a new business.
Okay, they're permitted for new businesses first. There is a time limit for new businesses to have them. So that's one thing.
Okay, I took them down because I had put them up, but the code enforcement officer, Steve Page, required me to take them down. I spent a lot of money on the flags and I didn't want to lose them. So I did take them down, but I wanted to show what we're doing, where they're located, and show why I want to do that. We're trying to stop infringement on other people's businesses, which it is occurring. People don't know where to go to where to find us. We do have an A-frame, which I know you do allow in your signage package, but it's not enough because people just drive by because it's mostly residential. So they're not really sure where to find us. And it's only temporary because we will actually have an office further out. And at that time, it would permit or meet your requirement that I can put the flags up then, but we're just asking for them in the meantime to be allowed to use the flags. I think that's it. And I did make some examples. I know that Pasco County has a law that you can. So there's various areas in like literally a block from Zephyrhills to Pasco County that there are flags flying, residential build to rent, home owning communities that have these flags. They're very tasteful. They're not in any kind of way. And we would definitely do whatever we need to do as an application to have them up until our office is actually built.
Could I ask you, how long have you been in business there, Ben?
So we started, the first set of delivery units was January of 26. So we started occupying 26 units at that time. We're still in development. We'll have 176 units total when it's all finished. I have two maps. I don't know if I'm giving you too much information. I have two maps, north and south. North is where we're located right now. That one's showing to north. So that's 26. Yeah, you're showing 26 units. At there where it says 6302 is where I had signed flags that I had to take them down. So that's what we have available right now. It's close to the residential area by the YMCA. Silver Oaks, I think, is the name of the development. And then on south, that's the rest of the property. The area where there's a pool, I think everybody sees where the pool, that will be our clubhouse, which is fully in the development. And that's where we're hoping to keep the flags, which is nowhere near a right of way, nowhere near a highway. It's actually in our development. But I was told we couldn't utilize the flags. So I'm just asking if there's a way to permit and do an application to allow those flags to be used for our business for marketing purposes.
This is the new apartments and
right,
townhomes
Yes,
that are
sir.
being built from some are 1-story, some are 2-story, all the way to Geiger.
Correct. On Abbott Station Drive between the first sets at the beginning of Abbott Station Drive near Silver Oaks. In between, there's the Y and then the rest of the development that will be accessible through Geiger Road.
So you're the leasing agent, basically.
I am the property manager. Yes,
Okay.
sir. So it is, and I do understand this was something you all established in 2015. I do understand that was your rule then. Development has changed. There's been a lot of development and a lot of businesses need to utilize any tools possible to try to bring in prospects to tour, to lease, to find homes for them. And again, not impinge on other people's businesses in that area, which is what is happening right now, because they don't know where to find us.
Thank you for bringing that to us.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? Ricardo,
Yes, Mr. President. I have Nick Walton.
if you'd state your name and address for the record, Nick.
Nick Walton, 304 West Hyatt Street, Tampa, 33603. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. I'm the executive director of the SVB Foundation, and I'm just here to give you some updates on what we've been up to. I have with me our 2025 impact report, and I just want to read that out for the crowd here. We have a nice crowd. So For those of you not familiar with the SVB Foundation, we provide free tennis and education programs in Zephyrhills, Dade City, really anywhere at this side of Pasco County. And just a look at the numbers here, 729 students served in 2025 at 16 program locations, 12 of those being schools right here in Zephyrhills, your Woodland, West, Stewart, all the way through Centennials, up to Dade City. And now one of our program locations is the Boys and Girls Club of Lacucci. 935 program hours for kids and over 1,500 volunteer hours. Those volunteer hours are coming from our board, from adult community members, but a lot of those are coming from young people. These are high school students that play on the local teams. They're coming out and serving as junior coaches. And part of this impact report talks about some of our youngest volunteers ever coming out, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, teaching 1st and 2nd graders, the basics of the game, becoming mentors, assuming a leadership role before they even know what that word means. So the impact is real. And I have a copy of this for each of you. So I'm going to hand these out now.
Thank you, sir.
The other comment I have is about Zephyr Park. So Zephyr Park has a rich history. Everyone here knows lots of famous and non-famous tennis players played there. The courts are packed at peak hours. They really are. And a lot of that is pickleball. I'm really going to push the city to build a set of pickleball courts separate from the tennis courts. I think this would allow tennis players to get in there and continue to do what we're doing, grow the game of tennis. Oh, she's clapping for me. I love it. So in order to, what we want to do is remind the community and the kids we serve that Zephyr Park is free for kids, right? It's free for anyone who lives here. So what we brought back are what we call our community tennis play days. We've done 2 so far this year. It's approximately once a month. We'll do one on Summerfest as well. That'll be a big play day for us. But I want to encourage you guys to come out to the next play day. It's April 25th. It takes place from 10 to 12, and 10 to 11 a.m. is for 10 and unders. If anyone wants to come out. From 11 to 12 is 11 and up. It's completely open. We've had about 50 kids come through over the last couple play days. This is open arms for anyone who wants to join. So I encourage all y'all to come out, check it out. It's really nice to see, and really a celebration of tennis in the community.
Is that at Zephyr Park?
At Zephyr Park, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just the other day, somebody asked me if we're going to build pickleball courts.
What do you guys think about that?
Well, I wasn't,
I
but
think it would be
You're good. You're good.
short-sighted.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, Nick. Is there anyone else signed up?
Yes, Mr. President. Kevin Alexander.
Kevin Alexander, 5625 Marie Drive here in Zephyrhills. I am a Zephyrhills resident. I grew up in Zephyrhills. I learned to play tennis at Zephyr Park. I spent 20 plus years in the Air Force and then 12 years in state government up in Tennessee. Moved back and was brought on to do a program coach and also a program manager for this foundation. And I was just wanted to say a few words, just the impact that it has had on me since I've joined this program and seeing the kids' faces each and every day. That I just came from 2 schools. We were at Stewart Middle and then Watergrass Elementary just now. That's why I'm kind of hot and sweaty and in this gear. But the look on the faces, the impact that we have on those kids, this program is really dynamite and is worth its weight in gold. So I just wanted to just say a few words that as a guy from here that grew up playing tennis on these courts and seeing the impact it made for me, I can't imagine if I'd had someone remove all the barriers when I was 8, 9, 10 years old and handed me, not only gave me free instruction and a free path to have further lessons at SVB and the Moronville Academy, but also to get a free racket at the end of the class. At the end of the 8 weeks, you get a free racket. I can't imagine where my life might be and my tennis would be if I'd had that 3 years, 4 years earlier than I did. So that's all I wanted to say. Just thank you so much for the opportunity to speak in front of you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service and helping our kids. Thank
Yes.
you.
I've got one more, Mr. President. Phyllis Purvis. Okay, she's declined.
Is there anyone, that's it, signed up. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to something that's not on the agenda this afternoon? Seeing none, we'll move forward to the mayor.
Chief is going to start in with swearing in our newest officer.
So today I'd like to introduce our newest officer. Sorry, Derek Brewer, Police Chief, City of Zephyrhills. Officer Ethan Rich was born in Dade City and raised in Zephyrhills, where his passion for serving his community led him to a career in law enforcement. Sponsored by the Zephyrhills Police Department, he attended Pasco Hernando State College Law Enforcement Academy, where he was selected for Class 129's Honor Guard, and graduated on April 9th, 2026. Outside of work, Officer Rich enjoys playing guitar, singing country music, and spending time with his girlfriend and family, who have supported him throughout his journey. Officer Rich, come on up. And Mom, come on up. I'll have you pin the badge on him.
It's harder than it looks. We figured that out.
You can come over here. Will you raise your right hand for me, please? I state your name.
I, Ethan Rich,
A citizen of the state of Florida
citizen of the state of Florida,
and the United States of America.
and the United States of America,
Do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and defend the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the state of Florida
and the Constitution of the state of Florida,
against all enemies, domestic and foreign,
against all enemies, domestic and foreign,
and that I will bear true faith,
and I will bear true faith,
loyalty,
loyalty,
and allegiance to the same,
and allegiance to the same.
and that I will faithfully perform
I will faithfully perform
the duties of a police officer
the duties of police officer
for the city of Zephyrhills,
for the city of Zephyrhills,
on which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, sir. And welcome to the police force, young man.
Thank you, Ethan. We're excited to have you on our team, and we know you'll do an amazing job for us. And thank you for raising an amazing son that is going to be part of our community. So we appreciate that. All right, we're going to have Miss Alyssa James come on up with me right here. Where do you want me this way? I gotta grab these things. I know, isn't that fun? So I'm excited. This is the best part of my job, is when we get to celebrate young people in our area and the great things that they're doing. So Miss Alyssa here is one of our star tennis players. She's one of the reasons why we built that facility and why we've supported that facility just for this, to make sure that we're moving the youth forward and we're giving good impact to our community. So here's her proclamation. This is pretty special. Not everybody gets these, especially at your age. Whereas the city of Zephyrhills takes great pride in recognizing young athletes whose dedication and excellence bring international recognition to our community. And whereas Alyssa James, aged 18, arrived at Mortalago, thank you, Tennis Academy in Zephyrhills in August of 2025, and in just 6 months elevated her International Tennis Federation world rank from 108 to number 60. earning qualifications for all junior Grand Slam tournaments. And whereas now ranked among the top junior players in the world, Alyssa is Jamaica's highest ranked junior tennis player and the top junior female player across the Caribbean and Central America, reflecting her rapid rise on the global stage. And whereas her accomplishments include 4 ITF junior singles titles, 5 doubles titles, and a historic appearance in the Orange Bowl doubles final, while continuing her development under private coach Andy Sorrentino at Mortalag Academy. Academy. I'm sorry, I wish I could say it. Whereas Alyssa has competed in the 2026 Australian Open Junior Championships and hopes to qualify for the 2026 French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open. Alyssa will attend the University of Virginia this fall, home to one of the nation's top women's collegiate tennis programs, while maintaining outstanding academic achievement. And whereas her success highlights Zephyrhills as a growing hub for elite tennis and showcases the impact of the city's investment in world-class athletic facilities. Now, therefore, I, Melanie Barr Monson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of Zephyrhills, do hereby recognize and commend Alyssa James for outstanding athletic academic achievements for the pride she brings to the city of Zephyrhills. Thank you. Yes, she's going to say a few words.
Okay,
Yeah, you're good.
good evening, Mayor and City Council officials and other distinguished guests. I'm honored to be a recipient of the 2026 proclamation by the City Council for recognizing my achievements in tennis. I thank you all for the recognition, and I will certainly continue with my efforts to make the city and this community proud. My time in Zephyrhills has been incredibly meaningful. I have felt welcome and supported and at home. I want to thank God, my family, and my coaches at Mortaglu Tennis Academy who have played a part in my development over the years. I would like to thank the mayor and the city council for this acknowledgement and for believing in me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. And then do we want to get Taylor in front of us?
Yes, and this is the time. We're just special people. Come on up. Come on up. Isn't that pretty cool? 1940. Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Come on up. Join the crowd.
There we go. Maybe scoot over this way.
Slide, slide, slide.
All right. Moving. 1, 2, 3. Very good.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
This is the center. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and Amber, I'll have you come on up. We're going to be doing our water conservation proclamation today too. You're not a world-class tennis player, but you're pretty rock and roll too, aren't you? We like you. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida and the Southwest Florida Management District and the city of Zephyrhills are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of Zephyrhills and the Southwest Florida Water Management District and the state of Florida has designated April, typically the dry month when water demands are most acute, as Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens about how they can help to save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the city of Zephyrhills has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water, and by helping to save water will thus promote healthy, sustainable economy and community. Now therefore, I, Melanie Barr Monson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Zephyrhills and on behalf of the city council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Water Conservation Month, and call upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resource by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to conserve water. Thank you.
Thank you.
We talk about that a lot. Come on over. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving forward, we have 6 consent agenda items on the in the meeting tonight. We can pass them all at once, or anyone can pull one for discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve them all, but I do have a comment about the bus stops. Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
There's a bus stop on 301 right across from Florida Medical Clinic on the west side of 301. And I saw it faces 301, the one-way street right behind it, Todd. I wonder if it'd be beneficial to move that bus stop to the frontage road and take it off 301.
I don't know, Rodney probably.
Where's that again?
It's on 301 across from Florida Medical Clinic. And it's on the west side of 301. And it's on 301. When a bus comes, it blocks traffic on 301.
Yeah, it does.
There's a frontage road right there. And I just wondered if it'd be easy or possible, not easy, to just turn it around kind of and have it face the frontage road instead. That's just, I wanted to bring it up. I didn't want to take it off the agenda, but.
Sure. Rodney Corvo, Principal Planner, City of Zephyrhills. So we're talking about an existing bus station. Okay. All right.
I'll get with you after.
Okay. Yeah, we're working right now currently, as you all know, with Go Pasco on all of these. So we'll certainly talk with Dina.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving forward to the public hearing. We have 2.1. I'll turn it over to Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. President. Business item 2.1 is the first reading of ordinance number 1514-26, ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida relating to the City of Zephyrhills Comprehensive Plan, ordinance number 866-90 as amended pursuant to Chapter 163, Part 2 of Florida statutes providing for evaluation and appraisal-based comprehensive plan amendments, repealing and replacing the housing element and the intergovernmental coordination element, adopting updated goals, objectives, and policies for those elements, establishing 2 planning periods consistent with Section 163.3177 Florida statutes, providing for non-substantial modifications, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is a public hearing.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this matter?
I'll start off, Council
Go
President,
ahead.
Todd Vandenberg, Planning Director for the city. As the city attorney mentioned, we have 2 comprehensive planning items, 2.1, 2.2. The first one has to do with the repeal and replacement, as city attorney mentioned, of 2 of our elements located in the comprehensive plan, that being the housing element and the intergovernmental coordination element. So we're going to be sharing some information tonight about the updated and proposed goals, objectives, and policies of these 2 elements. And then as mentioned in the heading as well, we've had to identify 2 planning periods. And, you know, sometimes these get a little complex, but Tammy Varana has been working with the city in the updated comprehensive plan, and she has another one of her nice, very good, well put together PowerPoints that takes some complicated issues and makes it easy to understand. So I asked Tammy to come up and we'll go through a PowerPoint on this particular item.
Good evening, everyone. Is there a clicker that I should use?
If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Vrana, Vrana Consulting, Safety Harbor. Okay, so we're going to start off with our evaluation and appraisal-based amendments to the comprehensive plan. This public hearing tonight is to address those 2 planning periods and to look at the 2 new elements, housing and intergovernmental coordination. Just briefly, the comprehensive plan is the city's long-range policy framework. It guides growth and development per Florida statutory requirements. It's periodically evaluated, generally about every 7 years, to see if it's consistent with changing state requirements, because those are always subject to change. And that's called the evaluation and appraisal process. The city prepared an evaluation and appraisal letter to the state and identified that it was lacking the new requirement for the 20-year planning period. Cities were always required to have a 10-year period, but there was a change to require that 20. So the 10-year period, which is the minimum, so it ends in 2036, not a nice round number, but okay, we'll take it. And then the 20 year is a 20 or 20 plus. So that would be the planning period for 2050. So these are the required elements in a comprehensive plan. I won't go through all of them, but we're here tonight to discuss the housing and the intergovernmental coordination element. So let's get into the housing element. The new goal, and these are all new goals, objectives, and policies, and anything in your packet, only these goals, objectives, and policies are adopted. Everything else is just data and analysis. So the goal is to provide a diverse, affordable, and resilient housing supply that meets the needs of residents of all incomes, ages, and abilities while preserving neighborhood character, protecting vulnerable populations from displacement, and supporting Zephyrhills as a vibrant community in which to live, work, and thrive. And supporting this goal are 9 objectives, which are listed on the screen. And then each one of those objectives is supported by a set of policies. Because I know that you have reviewed your packet and you probably have questions regarding the policies, I won't belabor all of those tonight because there's a lot of them. But certainly, please ask questions and provide any suggestions for improving those. So our objectives are, first, the housing supply and availability. How do we ensure that there's a sufficient housing supply for the current and also the future residents of Zephyrhills? That the housing supply include affordable, attainable, and workforce housing. That there be diverse and innovative housing options in order to meet the needs of the population. And then looking at housing quality and how housing quality supports neighborhood stability. And then housing for special needs and vulnerable populations, including a disabled community, elderly community, people who are at risk from homelessness. Fair housing practices as required by statute to make sure that there isn't any discrimination within housing practices in the city or in the community that's providing those the housing or selling houses. Displacement and relocation protections. So in the event that there's a governmental action that would require purchasing of some property, that there is some investigation as to whether or not there's safe and decent, affordable housing for those displaced persons to go to in accordance with the federal and I think state statute as well. Historic housing resources, which are important in Zephyrhills because you have a nice historic district. And then lastly, looking at housing monitoring and evaluation. So over time to go back and check in just to see if the strategies that you're actually implementing are actually being effective and then making any sort of changes that are needed. The goals, objectives, and policies do not force the city's hand to spend any money on any of these things. Of course, your staff will be developing their work plans over the years and then they'll decide what are the priorities and maybe you can help us tonight understand what priorities are. I know you will down the road, but where they should focus their attention first. So just some baseline information and then outlook to 2036, which is our first planning period. So per the American Community Survey estimates, the population, or maybe that's the state one, the population is currently 19,600. That includes 8,374 households. And of that housing mix that's in the city, 47% are single family detached, 29% are mobile home, and 19% are multifamily. And that includes all multifamily from duplexes all the way up to apartments. So it's not segregated out by larger versus smaller multifamily.
Can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Regarding the mobile home percentage, is that low for the Florida, 29%? Because I think in here it said that Pasco County's housing stock is 50% mobile home. Did I see that in here?
I don't think so.
Somewhere else.
I know, I'll have to go check on to see.
All right, but is that kind of an average number? About a third of the housing be
I
mobile
don't, I think
home?
it might be higher than maybe what some communities have,
Yeah, all
but,
right.
but maybe it's on par with those communities that have mobile homes in there. So, but we can look into that to
Okay,
see
I
what.
just, yeah,
what the
I
re-
thought it kind of seemed high, but then I saw somewhere that it said Pasco had different, but that might be somewhere else.
Okay, well, I'll
Sorry.
read it and we'll
All right,
talk about
thank
it
you.
later. So in 2036, when we look out to the projected population, which of course is just a guess into the future based on some information about your, we've done some work on your water supply, there's the housing pipeline. So we're looking at about 29,500 population in the next 10 years. Of those, you would require 4,300 new households at that 2.3 persons per household, which is what your census related average is. And then that would equate to a housing demand of about 400 to 430 units per year. So as far as existing capacity, you have units in the pipeline. So those units, those developments that have been approved but not yet developed. There's also 262 acres of vacant residential acreage within the city that could be developed, and there might be some overlap between the pipeline units and those. So, but as far as it is enough to meet the demand for the new households that we've identified in the middle column, but there's not always a development that goes on every site over time. And so sometimes you need to look, especially if you're looking out to 2050, there probably will be a time that you need to look outside your city limits for land for housing. So as far as the population characteristics of the city, and this is also based on the 2024 5-year estimates of the American Community Survey, which is the Census Bureau, we consider demographics to tell us who might need housing going forward. So we can see on the left-hand side that about 57% of your households, so those are those organized households, not vacant units, but those that actually have people living in them, are 57% families. 38% are households that are a person living alone, and then the other households that are non-family that are not living alone in group quarters or things like that would be 6%. As far as the life cycle stage across the top, we can see that 52% is between the ages of 18 to 64, so that working age cohort, and then 30% are over the age of 65. Kind of lumped into this special needs category could be the potential for people over age 65 to have a disability or to need special, or to have special housing needs, or maybe just wanting smaller units. And then also persons with disabilities are 19%. Relative to household economics, as I called it, the median household income is $52,000. 13% of those households are, or 13% of households are below poverty level, and 19% of households have no vehicle available, which is important when you think about where you're putting more of your affordable units and their ability to maybe get along without a vehicle. And then just for some information, the Pasco County's area median income in 2025 shows that the 80% of the area median income, which is the beginning of moderate level housing affordability, is about 78,000, it's about 79,000 actually. And then 50% of the area median income, which would put you in low income territory, is about 49,200. So just, this is for a family of four, but the median income is for all households put together. So this is an important distinction. I think even planners were always like, well, what do we mean by affordable housing? But I saw this, it was kind of interesting to me. So when we look at affordable housing with lowercase letters, it's a benchmark. So we look at, in this comprehensive plan, particularly, we point out housing costs for a household that are less than 30% of household income. So all the housing costs, not just the unit, but the utilities and insurance and things like that. Anybody who's paying more than 30% of their household income is considered a cost burden household. Relative to the capital affordable housing, those are the subsidized housing programs that may occur through low-income tax credits or vouchers or things like that. They can either address the supply side, so helping developers build affordable units within your community, or it could be on the demand side, somebody who's helping with first-time home buyer assistance or things like really bridge that gap between what a household can pay and what housing costs. So in the housing mix and affordability, this is just some of the data from the data analysis. Housing cost at 30% of median income is about $1,300 a month. 30 to 40% of renter households in the city are cost burdened, and lower income households are of course affected the most about housing affordability, which is not a stretch. For the housing mix, the majority of the units are single family detached in the community. Those units usually have a good plot of land under them. You know, they're larger, so they tend to be on a little bit more of the expensive side, a little higher price. And then limited rental supply also puts pressure on the rental market, so driving up the cost of rental properties. So our key strategies are, and this is a summary of what we pulled, there's a lot of more information in your data and analysis, but to preserve that existing affordable housing, which is called naturally occurring affordable housing within your community. So, you know, helping the community to keep those units up so they don't get dilapidated over time. And so they're still available for habitation. To expand the types of housing that are in the community, including what we'll talk about in a second, which is missing middle and different types of multifamily housing. Removing regulatory barriers, so considering what are the things that are standing in the way of getting some of those smaller missing middle type products, and then supporting workforce and affordable housing through partnerships, because the city doesn't have an affordable housing. I don't think you do SHIP or any of those, but you could work with the county and Habitat and other partners to increase that supply in your community. And then directing growth to well-connected areas, because as we mentioned before, some of the lower income, or not even just lower income housing, some households prefer not to have a vehicle. So if we're going to put housing that's directed towards a certain population that can't afford high market rate rents or doesn't have a car, we want to make sure that they're in connected areas. So as far as projected job growth, you know, you have 700 or more new jobs that are coming to Zephyrhills in the industrial corridor. There's a rule of thumb that looks at about like 0.4 to 0.5 new jobs for a new person in your community, a new resident. So we could look at 4,000 to 5,000 new jobs demanded by those new residents. Now, would those necessarily be in Zephyrhills or outside the area? That's not really like hashed out, but it's just a rule of thumb. And then also, based on the census data, the concentrations in 2023, jobs in the community were focused on healthcare, retail and service sectors, and education and public services. And existing jobs within those categories tend to fall within the moderate to lower wage ranges. And sometimes those workers can't afford market rate housing. And the implications of that are workers that commute from outside the city to take jobs within the city because they're driving until they can find something they can afford. It increases transportation costs, not only for the households, but also for the governments that have to provide more lanes and infrastructure improvements to accommodate the traffic. And then also it puts a pressure on workforce retention. You're much more likely to retain a worker who lives in your community than one who's doing a big commute and then says, oh, look, there's something down the road. I'm gonna take that. So what is missing middle? It's simply what is, oh, I got animated. I forgot about that. I made this so long ago. Single family detached is outside the missing middle, and these larger scale multifamily is outside the missing middle. So everything that you see that's listed here, this is a transect view. So it shows those single family detached to the left and those larger scale apartments to the right, and those different products, housing products, how they kind of span the transect, the land use transect. And then there's some photographs of different type cottage courts, duplexes, so stacked duplex, quadruplexes, another cottage court there. So why is the missing middle less expensive or more cost affordable? Lower land units, cost per unit. They're smaller, more efficient units. They tend to have simpler construction types, so they don't necessarily have elevators and things like that. They may share walls, have shorter driveways, reduced utility runs, so more compact development. There's less infrastructure costs. Reduced parking in some contests. Some communities have reduced the parking or eliminate parking for those units altogether. And then it allows incremental small scale development that can be suited to neighborhoods, so sensitive infill and redevelopment. So these are just examples. I was reading about this yesterday. It was kind of interesting to me. So Las Vegas just adopted this on April 1st. It's a 50-unit development. It's using a product called Boxable. I believe this is the type of unit that Elon Musk was living in Austin. So he was trying it out. They're about 360 square feet. It was built on a 2.25 acre vacant lot, so which is about 23 units per acre. The monthly rent with utilities about $1,000, and the city worked with the developer worked with the city to reform the R3 multifamily zoning district to allow this type of development. And this is just there's a floor plan and a site plan. And this is just an example. I mean, this could be scaled to fit any community. It doesn't have to be a 360 square foot unit, and it doesn't necessarily need to look like a box, but it is something that, you know, it can be customized to your community. Because you don't really have, you don't work with housing dollars, there are things that you can do to promote or to have partnerships with others for developing housing within your community. The picture at the top is in Boston, where they're trying to promote their accessory dwelling unit ordinance. They allow them in the community. They want to do more to have uptake of that type of unit in their community. So they're really putting it out there so people know that it's available. You could provide guidance and technical assistance, which I'm sure your planning department is very adept at that. Supporting small business builders to expand housing production. A lot of times small builders are the ones that are doing a lot of the missing middle, but they face a mountain of barriers. So working with them to see what their needs are and maybe hosting some sort of a forum with small builders to see what the barriers are within your, if there's a barriers in your code. And then again, partnering with public, nonprofit, private sector to leverage everyone's resources. And this is also something that was recently adopted. And this is a community that looked into its zoning code to see what they could do to accommodate that missing middle product. They simplified approvals for their ADUs. They streamlined the duplex approvals. They have a context-sensitive multifamily housing, so it encourages it, but it also kind of reduces that NIMBYism, not my backyard, effect that can happen when sometimes a little higher density comes into a lower density area. They have a hybrid zoning that allows by right to a certain types of housing. That includes design standards. Again, being able to be context sensitive and fit in with existing neighborhoods. Reducing regulatory barriers, as I mentioned before, parking, lot standards. Sometimes our lot standards are a little too high in certain areas. And then looking at going in a 2-year period to see how is it working and does anything need to be tweaked. Shall I just keep going? This is a
Well,
short
let
one.
me just comment.
Certainly.
You mentioned, it was section 1.5, that the city will coordinate and work on homeless issues or vulnerable housing issues with the county, the city, the CHIPS organization, and different things like that. So
Yes,
I was
so-
glad to see that.
Yeah, so there was a whole set of policies about different types of coordination or housing types or things that could be considered. It's almost a sort of a catalog just to check in and say, well, we would like to work on this. Let's see what works for Zephyrhills. So thank you for
Good.
noticing that.
All right.
Your mic's off.
So, Ms. Verena, it's been about 60 years since we've built any federally subsidized housing in Zephyrhills. And there are a handful of units that are neighborhoods or communities, I would call them. There's one called Park Place. There's another one that's Evergreen, I think is another one. But these are, 2-bedroom, 1-bath units. Typically, they're income-based. So, and they're targeted to folks who are either 65 plus or, senior citizens, or then others are this group, this 13% that falls in the below poverty level. So, the waiting list for those units is 3 years in some cases. In addition, in 2010, 2011, up until about 2017, we built about 5 or 6 high density apartment buildings. And that is when we changed the code to allow 20 units per acre, because the goal was to stimulate income-based housing construction. And we were successful in Fort King Colony, Grand Reserve, Somerset. Those are other apartment buildings that are income-based. Again, waiting lists of over 2 years. So there is a real need for that. And it's hard to know what is it that will motivate developers to build those in our community. And is it really a NIMBY kind of situation? Because I can tell you, I think Ms. Hamilton knows, there's a finite number of infill lots in the city limits, particularly in the CRA and then the, kind of just the older part of the downtown. What would it take to get developers interested in building duplexes or quadruplexes in these little standalone lots? The city owns one on 19th Street. What could we do to fulfill some of this need for this missing middle housing?
Well, because I'm not an expert on building housing,
Right.
but the first thing I would think of is that I would convene a group, almost like a focus group of people who build houses in our area, or maybe even people who are outside the area that would want to come here to build houses, and find out what are the things that they look for when they're looking to do business in a community, and then reviewing the code to see if those barriers exist within your zoning code, and to see what sort of changes that could be made to. And I think that along the lines of promotion, I know that like the city of Groveland has a set of pre-approved housing plans, and I know the city of Newport Richey is doing one with some coastal cottages on the coastline that are elevated so they won't get washed away in the storms. So just doing things like that and then promoting it. So you have, an excellent public information group here, so they could help to get that word out. But I would convene the experts in that to find out what it is that they need, and then let them know that Zephyrhills is interested in exploring options and helping where they can.
Can I say something? Yes. It's funny that you bring up those neighborhoods, because on Founder's Day at the depot, we had some bound volumes of the old Zephyrhills News. And I was just looking through articles, and one was from 1980 something, when they were building those projects that you were talking about on 20th Street and North Avenue. And there was a lot of NIMBY people in the neighborhood were opposed to it. And surprising to me, I didn't remember it, a lot of realtors were opposed to it. So I think the fact that that's a very good idea to get the experts and people in the field together to talk about and brainstorm those kinds of things and get all the people on the same team. So you're not faced with these NIMBY and opponents and
And along the lines of public education is understanding who this housing is for. You know, we drop our children off to daycare with people that we trust with our children. Do we not trust that they could have a house in the same
Our
neighborhood?
neighborhood, yeah.
So I think it's an educational component.
Just a couple follow-up comments to your question, Councilwoman Wilkerson. We've begun internally, we just last week had a meeting with a number of our departments to talk about pre-approved plans for certain types of residential projects. So we're starting that. We also introduced ideas about some barriers that we'd like to try to cross over, and that could be parking, how we deal with parking, the types of parking materials, how we deal with alleys. So there's a number of things, but again, as Tammy mentioned, I really like the idea of getting the professionals together, and we have some ideas, and some of that, you know, the housing element is so critical, probably the most important piece of our comp plan update, and then we'll come back, staff will come back for implementation. There'll be some proposed zoning reform. We'll talk about density initiatives and incentives to try to promote missing middle. But yeah, we're trying to look at what are those barriers, because there are opportunities, like you say, infill development where the visioning that we've done so far, there seems to be an interest and a priority of bringing the development, redevelopment back in town, reestablishment of those existing neighborhoods, re-incentives for existing neighborhoods to where we already have residential, got the utilities, the infrastructure, but that can also help us with affordable housing, we think, and reinvestment in those existing neighborhoods. Again, it's such a critical element and issue that we have to deal with all the manufacturing and the employees. We want them living in town. So planning CRA, dealing with the codes, looking at what the obstacles are and coming up with incentives is a high priority.
And another just facet of this is sometimes there are people who want to be home builders, but they don't know where to start. There is actually a group, part of the Congress for New Urbanism, that's called the Small Developers. They have like a toolkit, and they actually come to communities. If you want to, or Todd and I have talked about, like, we should have a housing summit, and we should have the county be involved and the cities, and you know, maybe we bring in experts like that to help them. How do you develop a performa? All the details that you need to know about building houses, because there might be an occupation there that just somebody needs just a helping hand to get started.
Well, and I think we have example. I mean, you know, Mr. Smith, there's the Kearns family, there's Mr. Butterfield. I mean, there are some builders who have successfully done these kinds of projects, but I'm sure they can tell us, what can the city do to really make that work? How do we pair them with people who are qualified? Because, you know, I'm trying to rent a $1,200 a month apartment. I can't find somebody with a decent credit rating. I mean, it's just really, how do we help people understand these are the steps you have to take to be qualified to own or rent a home like this? Here's what, you know, and here we can put you together with this person, you know, because you meet those qualifications. Very kind of similar to what Habitat does. I don't know.
Yeah, the barriers are complex for sure. Anybody else? Oh.
And it's interesting, I'm a realtor as well, and we see the average age of first-time buyer going up. You
It's
know,
40.
40.
I just heard that.
And I mean, I'll give an example. My daughter bought a house here in town. I just looked, talking about property taxes. Her property taxes are $6,000 a year.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
You know, I'm paying half that.
Me too.
Now, that's not really fair. That's a whole nother discussion. But that's one of the obstacles. You have that. You have the insurance costs. Mortgage rates aren't where they were at 2 to 3%. So, I mean, there's a lot. And Calvin knows this. Before you even pour a footer, you're $25,000 in impact fees. So for that little house, you'd be $25,000 before you even put a shovel in the ground. Those are obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but that's what it is. I mean, it's you compound these costs, all these costs, and as a realtor, and Phyllis knows this, people buy a payment. That's what they're buying. You're trying to get them in a payment, and get it where it's not going to eat them up, eat them alive,
Yeah.
Like you said, 30%. So if you do the round numbers, if you're paying $3,000, that's $100,000 in income you have to have. And so, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but there's a lot of things that have to be looked at and changed. And it is a smaller house. It's a more economical construction technique, and I think that for many years was the appeal of the mobile homes, because you're in a factory building them, you're processing them out.
Well, anything we can do to reduce the cost of the house, it could be being manufactured off-site. It could be smaller plot of land,
Yep.
stacking, like I
Yep.
said, smaller plot of land too.
And then make sure that the savings goes to the consumer, because a lot of times
Well,
it
yeah.
diverts off
Right.
along the way.
Yeah.
So, but it's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, and I think we should pursue it. I'm not saying we shouldn't pursue it, but there's an awful lot we'd have
Well,
to go
the
through.
crisis is, of course, across the country. So we can look at some of those like larger cities that have bigger problems and probably different levels of programming within their community, but to see what they're doing. And there's a lot of work in that regard. So I think it's just, when you put your staff to work on putting a program together, to have them come back with some best case or best practices that are being done, or successful practices in other communities.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing the standard of living change where, my parents bought a house in 1960, I think, paid $19,000. My mother never worked. They were able to one family income, support that house, and, put kids through college and everything. And you cannot do that today.
Yeah.
And when you go to other places, other countries, a lot of them have basically the same standard of living we have, but they don't have these huge houses. They don't have 4 cars in the driveways. They don't even have driveways here, mostly in apartments or condos or things. And it's just that I think this living large that we've done so here is just not going to work anymore for this generation coming up.
But the important thing is, if people, even if they want to not live large, is there a house for them to buy that's not large?
Yeah.
Because there's a standard.
They have to share housing. They have to share a house with 2 other young people to be able to.
I have a
afford it.
friend who built a house in the last couple of years. She lives by herself. She didn't need that big of a house, but the builder would not build anything smaller than a certain amount. So, and I'm sure that happens quite a bit. So anyways, a lot of future work to be done, but this is kind of a framework to kind of get you started. Oh, sure.
I'm Phyllis Purvis. I actually work with Lance Smith now. I'm Phyllis. I work with Lance, and I have dealt with the developers over the years, and the way that they do affordable housing is a lotto system. And so the lotto system is, they come to me and they say, look, we want to buy your property, we want to buy your land, and we want to tie it up. We're not going to put any money in the game. We'll offer you full price if we ever close. And then they go into the lotto system. It's a grant. They only get so many. It's almost like a raffle. And so they have to have all their information in and all their contracts in by December. And then you still have to wait. Now you're under, the seller is under contract for like 9 months to like a year and a half. And you have to wait till March. And then they do the drawing in March, and Pasco County is only allotted so many grants for affordable housing. And some are on this half and some are on the other half. What I'm saying is, it's down to the money. It's all about the money. If you want to get people in here, you got to show them some incentives. If you want these developers in here, they're trying to get them, they never pay for it. They get grants to pay for it, because that's what affordable housing is. It's all kind of within that umbrella. So I think if you dangled some more carrots to them, some more incentives to them, then maybe it would pull them more in this direction. But the problem is that ultimately the buyer of the land sits there and can't sell the property for a year and a half. And then, a year and a half later, they're like, oh, we didn't get it this time, but we want to tie you up for another year. Can we do that? And they will pay you more money, but the buyer never gets the money. Is that, the seller, they never get the money. And so that's it's a double-edged sword, because you want to, but then when you see it, you cringe, so that was just my thoughts while I was sitting there.
Thanks, Phyllis.
Anything else? Shall I click on? Okay, so now we're going to talk about the intergovernmental coordination element, and this will be short and sweet. The goal is to promote a coordinated, consistent, and collaborative system of governance that supports implementation of the city's comprehensive plan and minimizes interjurisdictional conflicts. And likewise, there are a host of objectives that support this goal, including development coordination, infrastructure and level of service coordination, the joint planning area coordination, regional coordination, school facility coordination, population projection coordination, and intergovernmental dispute resolution as required by state statute. So in going through the data and analysis and arriving at our key strategies, staff felt that it was important to continue coordinating, earnestly coordinating with the growth and infrastructure through the joint planning area with Pasco County to ensure that everybody's standards are being considered and that there are resources available to supply with new growth and development in that area. Likewise, aligning the utility service area and infrastructure planning across jurisdictions. I know that the city is going to be looking at updating its utility service area agreement. So discussions have started in that regard. Using development review processes to coordinate land use and shared system like ecological systems. So there is a interlocal agreement, that's what I want to say, interlocal agreement that requires the jurisdictions to share their land use proposals, which is good. Continuing to collaborate with the MPO and FDOT on transportation planning and improvements, coordinating with the school board on facility planning and any new school siting requirements, and then maintaining ongoing interagency communication and data sharing, such as population projections. Any questions on intergovernmental coordination? Is it putting you to sleep?
Sorry.
So I tell the joke that we did last time, that they always joke that the intergovernmental coordination element was on the copy machine while the rest of the comp plan, was being copied, it was being put together. So it's like the last thing. So sorry, messed it up. Okay, so our recommendation, we did have a planning commission public hearing on March 17th. And they approved the proposed or recommended approval of the proposed amendment to include the 2 planning periods, to repeal and replace the elements with the new goals, objectives, and policies. And staff likewise are requesting that the council approve the proposed amendment and then authorize staff to transmit the amendment to the state for agency review. Our next steps after tonight, with your direction, we would transmit that agency or amendment to the state. And then after we get back comments, we would come back for a second public hearing to address any changes. That's all I have. Any questions? Okay.
Before I close the public hearing, is there anyone else that would want to speak to this? Ma'am, I saw you had your hand up. Was there something you wanted to say?
Yeah,
Please come up here.
Granted, I'm on the rental side, but a lot of renters that we see now are looking, and it's multiple people living together because they're trying to afford things. And again, credit is always an issue, and you always have all those things. People are also looking for like walkability. That's a thing that we speak in rental, like businesses that they can get to without having to use the vehicle, because there's homes that don't have a car and they want to have more public transportation or be able to walk to Publix or walk to the new restaurant. So it does affect having new businesses also here, in an area. It's not just housing that you need. You also need like more entertainment, more restaurants, more things like that. So that's also another factor, that if you can find an area that you can develop that also has an area that has retail that's being developed, that helps promote that area and people want to come to that area. We have people that come from Tampa that come up here, but then it's like, well, I'm still too far from something, even though you have a better opportunity to buy or even rent. The rents are lower than somewhere else. There's still not enough around that they then will go to Wesley Chapel because there's more things that they can get to walking or riding a bike or on their golf cart, unfortunately. However, that is a factor too that we deal with when it comes to rentals. It's not just homeowning. Like, we have to look at that as well. So that's another thing that's, you have, and you have to, that's what they want now. They want everything they can get. And it was because of COVID. When rents changed, homeowning changed. When COVID came, everybody wanted everything. I want everything for this amount of money. So that's kind of what they still look for.
Thank you. Before I close the public hearing, is there anyone else that would like to speak to this?
Yes, no, because the realtor's mind is always going. So you have that massive sidewalk on the left side of town, going the south side coming in. And that, if people need something for walking, I know that the next subject that's coming up is something like that. If I were going to do something like that where people could walk, they have that massive sidewalk that goes all the way into Dade City almost. That would be the side. That would be a really good side for that, because you have that huge sidewalk that people could have their bicycles, they could, they could walk, they could have they're not supposed to, but bring their carts, and different things like that. Anyway, it just popped into my head.
Thank you. Thank you. If there's no more discussion on that, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to the council. Public hearing is closed. I'll turn it over to the council.
Thank you for that presentation. Thank you for the presentation. I move that we approve the evaluation and appraisal-based complaint amendment for transmittal.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item 2.2, Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 2.2 is the first reading of ordinance number 1515-26, ordinance of the city of Zephyrhills, Florida. The city amending the comprehensive plan in accordance with chapter 163, part 2, Florida statutes, providing text amendments to the future land use element to establish the place, type, framework, create the Zephyr Knoll mixed use sub-area, future land use category, adopt associated use, density, intensity, and implementation policies, and reserve the future land use map and map series, or revise the future land use map and map series to designate certain lands within the US 301 corridor north of Cossack Road as Zephyr Knoll mixed use sub-area, providing for non-substantive modifications that may arise at public hearing or correction of scrivener's errors, providing for severability, and providing for effective date. This is also a public hearing.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone signed up to speak to this, Ricardo?
I have none signed up to speak.
Is there anyone that would like to speak to this item? Before I close the public hearing? All right, I'll go ahead and close.
Before you close the public hearing, if
Oh, did
Todd
Yeah,
or
staff has just an
Tammy's gonna
introduction.
weigh in,
We'll
I'd
have
like
a
it on.
PowerPoint to just talk about what we're doing tonight. This is our second public hearing related to our comprehensive plan. We're excited to bring back the Zephyr Knoll future land use classification. It's a new classification to our future land use element. I think you probably remember a while back where we had some public workshops where we talked about the north area of town. We'll have some maps that show, remind you of that specific area again. Phyllis and some of the others were there where we talked about a new vision for the north area of the city that promotes some of the things we're talking about with vertical and horizontal mixed use development. So we're expanding opportunities of what will be able to be done up there. So it's kind of a two-part process. We have to update the city's current future land use map by adding this new future land use classification onto our future land use map. And there's a text amendment that puts all the information that we've been working on that you're going to hear about tonight, the technical details of this new classification. So Tammy's got another PowerPoint that explains all that for us.
Okay, please.
And I'll be right back. Excuse me just a moment.
Tammy Vrana, Vrana Consulting, Safety Harbor. Okay, on to our next So this is the Zephyrhills sub-area, proposed comprehensive plan text and map amendment. The purpose of the hearing is to present the details about the proposed amendment, to receive and consider public comment, to determine if the amendment is appropriate for transmittal to the state, and to initiate the state coordinated review process pursuant to state statutes. So as Todd mentioned, there was a visioning workshop back in November. We asked the broad question, how can future development best support the needs of our growing community? We looked at a planning area, particularly the focus area, which is in yellow. The consensus vision, there were 3 groups that were at that meeting, that joint meeting with the City Council and the Planning Commission, as well as members of the public. And the consensus vision amongst all 3 groups was a mixed use environment that's not isolated residential or highway commercial, that it have walkable neighborhood activity hubs, that it have transition with higher intensities being away from the neighborhoods, that there be well-connected streets and limited access to US 301, and an integrated infrastructure, including a park, green space, trail, and stormwater facilities. So this is the vision concept map that came out of the meeting. You can see that the purple areas are in the mixed use. The regional park is kind of roughly drawn in there to the south. And then the stormwater, there's a large wetland there, so that could be the beginnings of a stormwater park. That it would show this showed a street grid and a block structure that was connected both internally and externally with backage streets that are parallel to US 301 for distributing traffic, and then having those high streets or those main street type of environments with retail, dining, plazas, etc. And then there would be buffering along the major roads to mitigate those views and also road noise, and then the sensitive land use transition. I will point out that the hotel parcel block there to the top has already been addressed. That was kind of the impetus for us all, or for you all getting together. So that is not part of this future land use map amendment. So what's being proposed? It's going to be a text amendment and a map amendment to the comprehensive plan. We're going to start with the text amendment. There's a revised policy LU 1-2-3, future land use map and categories. And this policy, as revised, establishes the land use location, extent, and intensity that are governed by the future land use map, as well as table LU3, future land use categories. And this policy formally adopts that land use table into this document. And that's all the list of all your categories and all the standards and specifications. It is now including the Zephyrhills mixed use sub area category. So let's talk about that. So these are the main components of that sub area land use category. We'll start with the purpose. It's to establish a compact, walkable, mixed-use center. It provides for those transitions between rural and urban type uses, promotes cohesive, pedestrian-oriented form. It's responsive to site and environmental conditions, such as the topography that's notable in that area. Enables a balanced mix of uses to support daily needs and to reduce automobile dependence. Supports multimodal transportation. And it integrates, hard time with that word tonight, integrates elements of a complete community. So you could potentially live nearby and not necessarily have to get into a car for everything. The place type, which I'll talk more about a little bit because it's addressed in a policy. The place type that would be assigned to Zephyrhills, but it also could be applied somewhere else or other places in the community, is called mixed use centers and corridors. It's descriptive, it conveys the development vision, and it's non-regulatory. So it's simply guidance to help staff and also the council when development is being proposed. You can look at land use changes and zoning changes that help you decide what meets the vision and what doesn't. The use characteristics, primarily it's neighborhood serving, retail, dining, services, office, civic, recreation, and open space uses. Secondary to this would be residential and mixed use buildings, live work units, assisted living. And those mixed use buildings could be vertical or horizontal mixed use. That's my next one, integration, residential with non-residential, and it could be organized vertically or horizontally. And then not permitted would be single-family detached dwellings and automobile-oriented or high-traffic generating uses. The location characteristics, and these are kind of set up the way your other tables are, so I did the same thing. The area in yellow, which is where the future land use map amendment will go, but this is showing the areas that are appropriate or appropriate for this designation. So we just put a map in there just to make that clear. Nowhere else in the city, just there. And then as far as implementation and the zoning compatibility, the maximum development standards would be a non-residential floor area ratio of 1, residential density up to 14 dwelling units per acre. In this case, which is different from the other categories in the city, FAR, your floor area ratio, and your dwelling units per acre can be combined. So you could have the 1.0 FAR with 14 units on top, or however that's organized. The residential equivalent uses such as assisted living facilities would be 3 beds at 14 dwelling units per acre. Transient accommodations, similar to non-residential, 1.0 floor area ratio. The impervious surface ratio actually needs to say 8. I thought I changed that, but we did do a little bit of site planning and found that this 0.70 was a little too onerous. Yeah, restrictive. So that is supposed to be 8, and I believe that it's 8 in the ordinance. So check that for me, please. And then the building height would be up to 3 stories or 30 feet as is the rest of the areas and the rest of the land use designations in that area. Also, these sites would require a planned unit development zoning district, and the minimum review criteria, it includes these 13 items. So when staff is looking at a proposal and working with the developer to see how these different things are being addressed on the city. There's no specific way of handling those, but they would need to be discussed during the PUD process. So moving to the next new policy, which is LU 1.5.3, which is the place types framework. And this just establishes a policy that recognizes that framework. So right now we only have the mixed use center corridors one, but as we go through the future land use plan future land use element update, and we do visioning, we'll determine what those place types look like for application across the city. Finding out where other mixed use corridors and centers where that one place type could go, and there will be other place types as well. I mentioned again that it's non-regulatory. It's just for helping to interpret the FLUM and zoning implementation, and making sure that planning aligns with land use, transportation investments that are the community's long-term vision. The next amendment is a revised objective LU 1.6. This is titled Preferred Urban Form in your existing plan. It refers to designated urban centers, which there aren't any designated urban centers, but maybe it was supposed to be lowercase, I'm not certain. But we just went ahead and modified that to promote compact mixed use development patterns, which is what the rest of the policy kind of alludes to. New policy LU 1.6.4. This is relative to Senate Bill 180 that has a protection period until October 1st of 2027, that you cannot adopt anything that could be considered onerous or I can't remember the words right now, but something that would a developer might find to be harmful or what's there, unfair, or there's a different word for it. I'm not more burdensome. Thank you so much. So in this particular instance, until that period, that protection period is lifted, either it runs out its course or it's repealed by the legislature, the land use designation in effect prior to the adoption of the new Zephyrhills mixed use subarea could be applied. So you could still do that, or at the property owner's discretion, they could develop under the Zephyrhills land use designation. So we'll kind of see what happens with that in the next legislative session. If not, October 1st, 2027 is when that protection period will end, barring no further damaging storms. So this part moves on to the map amendment. So we're looking at 71.48 acres that are shown in that blue area. That's the future land use map that's been revised to include this area, proposed, of course. It goes from residential urban on the east side of the street, and mixed use on the, 301, and mixed use on the west side of US 301 to the Zephyrhills mixed use sub area category. This is the residential urban category and what it allows today. Of course, there's a 20 unit per acre maximum, but that is limited by zoning in this particular area. Likewise, with the mixed use area that's on the west side of the street, it shows a maximum density under that category, but that's for application in another part of the city. Here, it's limited to the 14 dwelling units per acre.
The 20 acres dwelling unit per acre is only in the CRA, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Form-based code, actually.
Which isn't
It's just a subset, sub area.
Extend outside of FDC.
So we looked.
Form-based code could do it, but 18th Street couldn't.
That's right.
So we looked at comprehensive plan consistency and determined, that was my stomach.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wonder if
It
it's
wasn't.
calling in. Yeah.
It's consistent with the comprehensive plan. It advances the preferred urban form, that compact, walkable, mixed-use development. It supports efficient infrastructure use by directing growth to a planned serviced corridor. Required public facilities and services, that capacity would be determined in conjunction with actual development proposals at that review stage. And then transportation impacts would be mitigated as needed with your proportionate fair share ordinance.
Sorry, I was looking around.
Okay, well, it worked now. There we go. These are just some examples. I know that Commissioner Smith or Councilman Smith had a question about what could be accomplished on, say, a 5-acre property. So we took a few examples. This one is just down the road at the downtown of Avalon Park. This shows the 3.5 acre area that is, I believe, what's considered the downtown. And you can see the mixed use development that's there in the photograph. This is overall site plan of the area. Down to the bottom, you can see the downtown area, and then the other areas to the north of that, which includes some multifamily to that eastern edge, and that whole area is about 20 acres. But this particular downtown is within that 3.5 acre site.
That's currently existing, right? I
Yes.
think I've been to an Indian restaurant in there, and there were people walking all over there. It was pretty amazing.
And they
It was
have
on a
some nice
weekday.
greens, like you can see here, sort of like the grand lawns and nice big
Those are
sidewalks.
apartments above it or
Yes.
residential?
Residential above and then retail dining on the bottom, and maybe some office in there too. I couldn't find the breakdown. I think it is part of a larger master plan unit development. And then this is in my hometown, so I know a lot about this site. So
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
this is a 0.93 acres. You can see the yellow and the red over here to the right, which it's on Main Street and on a primary corridor or corner in downtown. The front building has restaurants on the bottom, and on the top they've got office, and there's also a restaurant there in that corner. And then the back there are, 28 rental homes. They're small, but they're considered luxury. And so overall, that site area is 1.06 floor area ratio combined. Now, this is a downtown location. I'm not certain what they're doing with the stormwater, so probably would need to have a little bit more land. It's on the Gulf or on the Tampa Bay, so I don't know if it drains. I don't know what they did with it. Maybe it's under, but there is no pond, as you can see. But they did tuck the parking in that inside part of the development. And then there's also street parking, and they arranged some things with the city to expand that on-street parking. What else did I want to say about that?
Across the street from the spa.
The spa
Kinda
is a little bit
catty-corner.
this way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not too far away. And And also, I would like to say that this was built by somebody who grew up in Safety Harbor, and they have a small construction business, and they put their office up in the top. So they were one of those people that figured it out and it really made a great project in our downtown. And this is just, I thought this was kind of interesting. There was a photo on Facebook recently. You can see those buildings to the, and that's actually pointing to the west. But the rest of the downtown, you know, we feel very low rise. We're 3 stories, I think 35 feet is our height, except for this condo that kind of slipped in at some point along the way. But also the Safety Harbor Spa has some tall buildings, but you don't see them.
Yeah.
So there are ways that you can hide them.
Hidden in the trees.
In the trees and maybe a little lower. But I also, what really is remarkable to me is that we only have 2 lane roads and we don't have any stop lights except out at the highway. So if you keep going to the north, there is McMullen Booth Road that carries a lot of traffic. And we do have some flow from the regional traffic during peak hours, but pretty much it functions with just those 2 because it's a nice grid. And people can find other ways to maybe cut through and get around. But anyway, just thought this was an interesting photograph. So we did take this to the Planning Commission on January 20th. And the recommendation was to approve the proposed comprehensive plan amendment and also to include the future land use map amendment for the entire Zephyrhills planning, or it's not the planning area, but it's the area I showed you before. So they were on board with both of those recommendations, and the same for staff. So staff asked the city council to approve the proposed text and map amendments and authorize staff to transmit them to the state for agency review. And those are the next steps, similar to the last time. So any questions? You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Close the public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
I don't know. These things go through my mind. It's Phyllis Purvis again. So here's kind of a question that I personally have. Where do we stand on the water moratorium? Is that still active on the utilities? Yes. Okay, then I can't sell it. Because they call me all the time, and the developers, they're not going to wait. They're not going to want to build a subdivision when they can't actually do it. So I think that needs to be something that's very seriously in conjunction with this, because you can pass it all day long, but if you don't have utilities for it, yes, we have they can do their sewage. They can do their, I can't even think right now. I don't know how you guys stay up this late doing this, but it's mainly like, I don't know how many years it's been now. But I think going on like maybe 3 years. So there's no water. So they call me and they're like, Phyllis, do you have any land that we can put a subdivision on? Can we develop? And I'm like, well, we have these lovely pieces here. Oh, we do have utilities. And I'm like, well, we have some of them. And they're like, nope, see you, bye. So it has to kind of fall into place with that. So they really kind of need to, I don't know how long that's going to go on. Thank you, though.
Right. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this before I close the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and I'll turn it over to the council.
I move we approve, sorry. The Zephyrhills future land use transmittal ordinance number 1515-26, the map and text, and submit for transmittal.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving forward to item 2.3, Matthew.
2.3 is first reading of resolution number 867-26, resolution of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, pursuant to section 196.1978 sub 3O Florida statutes, electing to not exempt property under section 196.19783D sub 1A Florida statutes, commonly known as the Live Local Act property tax exemption. I don't think this needs to be a public hearing.
This is a public hearing.
I don't think you need to make it a public hearing on a resolution, but
I don't, it's in one meeting, right?
only one reading. You can out of abundance of caution, I guess, but
So do I
yeah,
open it?
you might as well
Go
just
ahead.
open
All right,
it.
I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone signed up that would like to speak to this item?
No, sir, no one signed up.
Anyone in the audience want to speak to this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to the council.
Mr. President, I move approval of this item.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Business items 3.
Yes.
3.1, Billy?
Council's requested to fill one regular member vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. The term is set to expire June of this year. However, the individual that's in that seat currently, Lily Moeller, resigned. And so this appointment will be to fill the remainder of the term, and then hopefully this individual will want to stay on. And with that, staff recommends Katie Bolt to be added to or be appointed to the Parks and Recreation Board.
And I believe we need a vote on this.
Yes, sir, please.
Mr. President, move approval of this item.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 3.2, Bill.
Item 3.2 is for Baduku sign variance. Per the existing sign ordinance, the property is permitted either 2 wall signs not to exceed 150 square feet each, 1 wall sign not to exceed 300 feet. The applicant's requesting approval to exceed this allowance by proposing 2 wall signs of approximately 400 square feet each, one on the north elevation and one on the east elevation. The applicant's requesting approval to exceed. That's a repeat. The applicant is here this evening, and attached in your packet are renderings of what it looks like at the 150 square feet design and the one with the 400 feet square design. As a staff did not have any issues with this. Staff does recommend approval of this variance request, but as I stated, the applicant is here if there are any questions from council.
No, I'll turn it over to the council.
I have a question. Is in calculation of the amount of square footage of sign, is it a function of the building?
It is,
And the reason I ask that is because obviously in my mind, a larger building needs a larger sign. So.
Right.
Calvin Schweitzer, building official. It is up to a certain point and then it stops at 150 square feet or 300 feet.
And I'm going to assume at the time we did this change or did that, we had no inkling that a building this size would come in.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think we may have more of this with the other buildings that are being built around.
And with that, and with the talk about the flags and some other issues, we need to look at the whole sign ordinance again and then do it quickly.
Exactly.
But I would recommend approval of this item.
Well, I have a question though. A couple of weeks ago, we gave a guy on 7th Street a hard time about having a larger sign. Whatever happened with that? The aluminum guy on 7th and.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
I mean,
but, I mean,
I think we need to redo the ordinance and not do variances. I don't really have a problem with this, but I do have a problem with kind of cherry picking who gets a larger sign and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anybody's at fault. I'm saying it's the way we have the code written.
And I agree. I mean, the reality is we have these ordinances because our goal is to minimize visual clutter particularly on our major thoroughfares. A building sign like this is a little bit different because they're set back from the road.
I think they're 770 feet and 550 feet from the 6th Avenue and Chancey.
Yeah,
So
it has to do with visibility and things like that. But like, for example, the example that Dr. Spina just gave, or Councilman Spina just gave was, we have this little teeny tiny building on what is essentially a slower thoroughfare and it's got giant letters on it and they're hand painted and it's not, I mean, it doesn't meet any of our criteria. So, and the same thing with the flutter signs. Those are fine if they're temporary, but we've seen it happen where they get all faded and tattered and, it becomes an enforcement nightmare for our staff. So I'm not inclined to approve any variances personally, but that's my position.
And I, for sure, I respect that. The other thing that I think is on a road where you're going 55 to 60 miles an hour,
Yes.
you should have a bigger sign. That being said, using what do they call a sandwich sign on Fifth Avenue is totally different than saying, oh, you can have a sandwich sign on Island Boulevard.
Right. Right.
We need to let people run their businesses and gather people. I'm not saying open the barn door and let them go. I'm not saying that, but I think we, sometimes I think we're a little restrictive because somebody should be able to have an event a couple times a year where they're put a tent up, have, an open house. We used to do that all the time. We had a fruit stand. We did it every year. And, it was our biggest day of the year and we gained customers for it. So we need to not do what we can to keep it, looking nice, but not impede somebody's business.
The other side of it though is, these other businesses we're talking about, they're trying to attract people in the door to purchase things or rent something or do that. Paducah's not selling anything out there. The only people going there are delivery trucks in or out. So to me, their sign isn't even as important as a guy on 7th Street or somebody over.
Although from a branding standpoint.
Well, I understand the branding, but
If I can just clarify real quick, the sign that's brought up on 7th Street, that's actually in the CRA, and what was proposed, the pin lettering or whatever that was actually approved. And so he has chosen to paint the letters on, which is not approved, but the signage that he requested actually, after we reread the design standards, was approved.
so did he get a sign?
He has not put up his new signs, no.
Well, I would like to see kind of a time certain that we'll bring back a revised sign ordinance and not wait 2 or 3 years to do it. Because we need to get these things cleaned up. And if
That'd be great for us.
It's just so I can clarify, and this is not to hold up Baduco's project here, but the request is staff's recommendation is to add an industrial or large building signage.
That was kind of what I was going to bring up, is we need to look at the industrial corridor completely different than we need to look at Fifth Avenue or, CRA and everything.
Right.
I was going to say that, but if we just wanted to redo the whole sign ordinance too,
well,
that'd be
we need to.
Well, I know
You can do it in chapters or whatever. But what I'm saying is we need to start and get things moving. We can approve it piecemeal even. But I feel very uncomfortable approving a variance for this when everybody else comes in here and we say no. And we do. And I'm not.
I don't know that anybody else has come in and asked for a variance on a sign.
We've had a lot of sign issues.
But no one has specifically come in and asked for a variance.
Okay, well, I'm not going to vote for this the way it's presented tonight.
That's your opinion, yes, sir.
All right, so that's my opinion.
I actually look at that and say, I don't know, is that even large enough for that size building?
Well, I would propose, there's nothing to say that you couldn't come back in 2 weeks with a proposal that says we're going to add an industrial, and we cut and paste it from, I mean, this is not new. This is not, and then we look at this. I mean, I think that we need to have a plan in place for everyone.
We can definitely have that ready for next meeting, I'd assume. Maybe. The thing about the Baduca sign is like they have to get it kind of ordered.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of time sensitive because the building is
relatively soon.
Yeah, they're opening in June.
Right.
Well, for me, I believe that the size of the building says a lot. That's why, for me, I'm for it. It's just the size of the building. But we do need to look at the sign ordinance, and we've been needed to look at it for quite a while. And I,
Temporary flags, if we're gonna let a new business do the temporary flags.
well, that could all be talked about at the same time. I agree.
Well, and I agree that it needs to be something to start now. We don't want to just kick it around for a while because and with that though, I would move to approve the variance request.
There was already a motion on the table by Councilman Smith.
Oh, is there? Okay, well then I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays?
Nay.
Passes 2-3. I mean, 3-2. Duh. Long meeting. But anyway, moving forward, Billy, we got number 3.3.
Yes, sir. Item 3.3 is approval of grant agreement 24-26-02 with DEP. This is the 9th Ave Pond. The DEP grant agreement number is L0376. City Council is asked to approve the State Department of Environmental Protection Standard Grant for 9th Avenue. It is an $850,000 grant. As part of the agreement, the city will purchase a piece of property, redesign the .87 current 8.7 acre stormwater pond on 9th and reconstruct that to reduce the risk of flooding in the 9th Avenue pond area neighborhood. With that, staff recommends approval.
This should help quite a bit on the flooding in that neighborhood, correct?
Yes, sir.
Help on that house too.
All right. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 3.4.
3.4 is, this is for the purchase of the said house, and item 3.3 is 39165 9th Avenue. During Hurricane Milton, portions of the roadway on 9th Avenue, along with homes were flooded. This is one of the homes that was flooded. The agreement allows the city to purchase 39165 9th Avenue to expand the pond. The agreed upon purchase price is $345,000, which we have appraisals that are attached. The appraisals were $315,000, $349,000, and $350,000 per city policy. To obtain property valued over $80,000, we must obtain 2 appraisals. The purchase price is within the appraisals. The grant allows us to utilize funds to purchase this. With that, staff recommends approval to purchase the property and authorize the city manager to execute any documents associated with this purchase. Any questions?
No, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, an interesting thing I'm sitting here thinking about though, we're purchasing it for a different use, but they look at the highest and best use when they do the appraisal.
Exactly right.
So that's, I mean, somebody might say, why are you paying $350,000 for a retention
Fair market
area?
value.
Correct.
Yeah, we were required to do that.
And I mean, unfortunately, timing wise, we probably could have purchased this for a lot less money. But because
5
we were
years ago.
utilizing grant funds,
Yeah.
we had to wait until that was secured before we could make a purchase. And she's
They had
renovated the house and is back living there again. So
Well, I think it's good. I'm glad you got it done. I'll approve this. Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And then the balance of that 850,000 goes to improving the pond, tearing down the house.
correct. So we have 350,000 that's allocated for the purchase of the house. So that'll include, we'll get reimbursed. We can get reimbursed for the appraisals that were done and the surveys that are required that we have to submit to the state as part of the purchase to get refund there. There's $49,000 you'll see on the noted item. There's $49,000 that we've already signed with Kimley Horn to start the design for this project. And then the remaining 850 or whatever, the remaining dollars of that 850 will go towards construction. Also remember that in the budget, council approved an additional $150,000. We thought there was going to be a match requirement. So we actually have $1 million on this project to spend. So if it does go over that 850 total, we have, kind of a buffer there of 150.
All right, is there any other questions from the council? I'll entertain a motion.
We have a motion.
Oh,
We have to vote.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Excuse me, I'm glad it's my last meeting I'm running.
No, it isn't.
Is that you?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, you get to switch in the middle.
I can read it.
I'll turn this over.
Well, I'm going to read the ordinance real quick.
Yes.
This is business item 3.5, first reading of ordinance number 1516-26. Ordinance of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, creating new sections 30.180, 30.181, and 30.182 of Chapter 30 of the City of Zephyrhills Code of Ordinances to update and provide changes to the Historic Preservation Board. Amending Chapter 154 of the City of Zephyrhills Code of Ordinances to incorporate updated provisions for the historic properties in the historic district. Repealing Section 10.02.05.04 of the Land Development Code to avoid duplication of applicable code to the Zephyrhills Historic Preservation Board, historic properties, and historic district. Providing for repealer, severability, codification, and an effective date.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, Council. Will McCaw, City of Zephyrhills Planning Department. I'll try and keep this short and sweet. We've been working on trying to get the historic preservation ordinance right up to date and eligible with the standards set forth by the state's Certified Local Governments Program. So the main changes that are being made are mainly structural. We're moving the establishment of the Historic Preservation Board to Chapter 30, where we also have the other boards that are established, such as the Planning Commission. The remainder of the ordinance will still stay in Chapter 154. So anything in particular with the actual historic preservation, whether that's certificates of appropriateness, standards, grants, things of that nature, they stay in Chapter 154. We had a couple of different sections based off of feedback from the CLG coordinator at the state. We needed to have the purpose of the board included. And then the other thing that he said was required was including the mayor as the designated chief elected official. This was after 2 or 3 separate rounds of submitting the CLG, submitting the updated ordinance to the CLG coordinator. I do not know if he was aware that the chief elected official is typically the council president, or if it's just standard that all CLGs have to go through the mayor. I followed up with him today and haven't received a call back, but I will have that information by the next hearing. And if it is indeed required to be the mayor, it'll stay the same. If not, it'll be updated to reflect that. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President, I have
Yes.
some questions. So, Will, I'd like to ask you, is there any potential unintended consequences? Because currently the Historic Preservation Board is part of the ordinance. I mean, you know, has a very important role, and it talks about, you know, education, how many people, what kind of qualifications they have, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to be sure that we are not diminishing the importance or power of the Historic Preservation Board by this shift.
No, the main role of shifting it is to include the board establishment within Chapter 30, which is where the other boards are established. Within Chapter 154, the ordinance specifically calls out the Historic Preservation Board for all of its official duties that it has to do, including any reports that are then made to the state, which are one of the new requirements in order to be meeting the standards for a CLG. So the Historic Preservation Board is not being changed in any meaningful manner. We're adding a chief elected official, and we're adding updated meeting times. We have to meet quarterly, and now we have to provide notice to the state ahead of time and follow up with an annual report. But there's no change to the powers or the structure of the board itself.
And one of the benefits is that this is a federal program operated by the state, but it also provides for larger grant awards for projects within the city of Zephyrhills being a certified local government. So if, I don't know the percentages, but if you're eligible for a matching grant, you could get matching plus 20% or something.
Well, and additionally, the CLG also offers the small matching grant, which is $50,000. They offer that to any government, but to certified local governments, the matching criteria of it is waived. So typically we would have to match any $50,000 we were providing for whatever it is. Once we're certified as a certified local government, that is waived.
Well, that in itself is a compelling reason.
Yeah, no, it's a more, a little more nuanced, but it also is a little more professional and you work a little closer with the state.
Very good.
All right. Is there any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the first reading of the certified local government ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Public Works Director. To report.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Shane LeBlanc, Public Works Director. I'm going to try to liven the meeting up a little bit here with everybody's been asking about our recycling program rollout. And DeQuan Anderson is with me tonight. I want everybody, I want to introduce you. Come up, DeQuan.
Are you going to be our Vanna in the photos? Ta-da. Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to promote from somebody from within, but DeQuan was recently promoted to the sanitation superintendent position previously held by
Congratulations.
Bobby Black, and he's got some big shoes to fill, but DeQuan's been with the city for 10 years. He's been a sanitation worker one. He's been a driver. He's been a sanitation foreman, and now he's moving into the superintendent role. So he's not a rookie. He knows what's going on a lot better than what I do, and I depend on him every day to help me do my job. So if you want, DeQuan, would you go over there and do the unveiling?
Oh, it's got a little.
Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Ta-da!
We thought we'd have a little drama with the unveiling. But what we have, you have a memo in your packet explaining our rollout process, but that's our 65-gallon recycling container. We have 3,000 of them on hand. And before I get into our rollout, I want you to know that it's a true team effort. We have finance helping us with customer databases. We have our public works team doing all of the research. We have our sanitation division researching the addresses. We have Will from GIS making maps for us. We have Kevin, PIO, putting out all of the information for us. So it's been a team collaboration. Sounds easy, you know, we'll just deliver some cards. Well, it's not. So Ricardo, if you would pull that up.
Shane, I have a quick question for
Sure.
you. So if someone you're not just going to give them to everybody.
Well,
is it by request?
We have a database of existing recycling customers. Not everybody recycles. We have, it's a fluid number. It changes every time, but it's approximately 2,000. Approximately 2,000 current recycling customers that we're going to deliver the carts to. And anybody that wants one, in addition to that, is going to have to put in a service request through Public Works, and we'll deliver one to them. We don't want to roll them out to everybody and them not be used. So a couple of the key items, this is a email that's going to go out to all of the Water Smart customers. They're going to get this email explaining the rollout program, the dates that we're going to do the deliveries, and there's also a link to a map that if you click on that map, if people don't know what day their pickup is, we put that map up there where they can look at it. We're trying to eliminate fielding all the calls because we're going to get bombarded by calls when we roll this out. So some key dates for this rollout, and I'm gonna pass these out. Each cart when we deliver the cart will have one of these door hangers on it. That's going to give people the basic FAQs of using the cart and how we're going to service the cart. It'll be very similar to the Z cart. So right now with our recycling crews, we have a 3-man team on a truck. We have a driver and 2 collection workers. So that 3-man team now is going to go to 1 person driving the truck, doing automated. What we're asking folks with the 18-gallon bins, they can either put them in their bin when they get their new cart and we'll recycle it, or they can keep it for their personal use to store items in their garage or what have you, because we're not going to have a use for them anymore. So our key dates are April 18th and April 25th, and that's going to be our Monday and Thursday customers, which is going to be on that map. And then May 2nd and May 9th are our Tuesday and Friday customers. And then we're going to roll out the program officially on May 13th, where we'll no longer accept the 18-gallon bins. We'll be picking up carts only. And this is going to benefit the users. We have some recycling customers that have 4 or 5 18-gallon bins. And the new carts are going to have the lid on them. So if people have the lid on and it rains, their cardboard that's in the cart's not going to get contaminated, which contaminated or wet cardboard will contaminate a whole load. We'll take it up to the transfer station, dump it on the floor, and they see the wet cardboard. It goes right up the hill and they burn it. So it's going to hopefully be a convenience to the residents, the customers, and also be more efficient on our end that we're going to be picking everything up automated, similar to the Z carts.
Shane, can I ask a quick question? So,
Sure.
and on our garbage cans, the lids are supposed to be down too, but I see people all the time with them up. So let's say somebody has a lid and you can see cardboard sticking out. It rained that night and it's wet. Would it benefit us to not pick that one up as a recycle item and then maybe just go back and grab it as garbage or something, as opposed to contaminating the whole load like you're saying?
Well, we would typically, if it was open and exposed, we wouldn't pick it up. We would tag it.
Okay, just tag it. Okay, that's what I was going to say.
And then a customer will call, why didn't my cart get picked up?
Okay.
You know, well, you should have got a look at your knife out and maybe chop the cardboard up a little bit or something to get it to fit in the cart. Well, with all the Amazon boxes and deliveries and stuff, cardboard's a huge item that we pick up.
My husband used to cut them up, but now I have to stomp them. I'm not strong enough to cut them up, so
Space management, I like that.
Stomp on them until they go small enough, but we have 3 bins, so this is going to be a good thing for us, for sure. Yeah. So my question is, you know, you're going to have some people that didn't read the memo or it blew away out of their door or whatever excuse they give you. And you're going to not pick up their bin. Are we going to give any grace period to pick up, or we're not going to pick up?
Well, the easiest way to educate somebody on how to properly prepare their items is to not pick it up, because they might be at work that day.
Yeah.
They get home from work and their whatever they put out wasn't picked up, and they get mad. And I do the same thing at my house, and they'll call us and we'll tell them why, and then it won't happen again.
Okay. That's what I was just asking, because, you know, I live in a senior community that will, but we brought this to our senior community a couple of weeks ago, and they were very excited because, you know, I had to put my mom's on wheels because she can't lift it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I rigged up hers so she could pull her little blue bin outside. So this is going to help our senior community be able to get theirs in and out much easier.
Well, I think it'll be also less clutter on the streets, similar to when we did the Z-Cart rollout. You know, we used to have 5 or 6 garbage bags or what have you in somebody's front yard, and now it's pretty clean. You just have the Z-Cart, and now we'll have the recycling cart.
There'd be a stray dog running through the neighborhood and they'd get in them bags too, you know. When we got the big ones, no more of that. So, and everybody who's recycling now will get one of these carts prior
Yes.
to us saying, no, we're not picking up the little one. And I'm just gonna say to them, if somebody asks me, I'm gonna say, call Melanie. So just call Melanie. But I got your number too.
You'll give them my number.
Right? Yeah, I will.
And I know Kevin, PIO, he's going to be pushing out some social media blasts, and we'll try to get the word out to everybody of the rollout and how to properly prepare their recycling, the do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts aren't changing.
Right.
Because that's governed by the county, but any specific questions?
No, we're
Great.
excited.
Did you like the unveiling?
I love it. You made us smile.
And I just want to congratulate DeQuan on his promotion and
Congrats.
Thank you. We're excited. We know you're going to do a great job.
Yeah.
Thank
He
you.
didn't know he's gonna have to stay for the whole meeting.
well, that's, yeah. That's all I have. It's just informational. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Item 5.1, this is for special event Boots in the Hills for alcohol approval. The event is scheduled for May 9th of 2026 from 2 to 10 p.m. The organization will require, or the event requires approval for use of the venue for the wet zone designation. The group will provide their own alcoholic beverages, or the guests will provide their own alcohol. It's BYOB. That will be regulated. ZPD will be present along with the event's private security. The music event along with food vendors will be held at the Airport Event Center. The event has occurred at this location in the past with no issues. The event does benefit the Quarters Foundation. With that, staff recommends approval of the of item 5.1.
Right. Is there any discussion?
No move for approval of business item 5.1.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. 5.2,
Item 5.2. So this is for a change order that has already occurred on the South Avenue extension. During the course of the construction, there were 3 change orders that increased the total project cost. BRW Construction was awarded for the bid a total of $2,368,805.75. During the last months of the construction, 3 change orders were needed to complete the project. Change order number 3 was for a sewer line that was shifted to avoid the Tico gas line. That was $96,699.55. Change order number 4 was to offset an 8-inch water main to avoid a conflict with the sewer line. That was $12,035. Change order number 5 was an additional excavation omitted in the original plans, $7,772. The 3 change orders totaled $116,506.55. I signed these change orders during the process. DOT did approve them. This was a DOT state appropriation, and I signed those. I should have brought those before council before I executed those agreements. So this is an after the fact approval. So I'm here for any questions. With that, staff recommends approval of these change orders. Any questions?
I have one. Is this is the one where we had to be reimbursed the extra $1 million from the state?
Correct.
Is this covered under that amount, or is this over and city money?
I believe the 116 is on us. The $96,000 extended the line. Part of that was the line extension of the sewer. So it says on here that the line was shifted to avoid Tico gas line. But we added that to extend the line from where it ended, essentially right at South Ave extension, we continue that to the east to, or excuse me, to the west, all the way to Mathis, Bell, to Bell. So that's what the $96,000 was for. So that comes out of actually 2 and 3, change order 3 and 4 will come out of the utilities budget.
What were 1 and 2?
I don't remember.
I don't have those. I haven't said it, but those were just contingency items that didn't go above the contract.
But still, total change orders were less than 1% of the project cost.
We were under, like that, about city manager quote a little bit. Shane LeBlanc, Public Works Director. For this project, we were under the gun with FDOT to get the project finished with a tight timeline. If we didn't meet that timeline, we wouldn't have gotten the appropriation money. So we had to really get these done. But the other change orders were items covered under the contract amount. Everything was approved by DOT, but we did go above the contract amount for that 116,000 and change. And one of those items was running the sewer to the Johnson household on 6th Avenue for future connections. So while we had the contractor mobilized, we took advantage of all of the pre-negotiated line item costs to get that work done under one mobilization.
Okay, but all of that 96,000 wasn't just for Johnson.
No, it was
to extend the line past Johnson. It was to extend the line to,
It says here the line was shifted to avoid the Tico gas line.
It was. We had to shift it and do an open cut and go under the road and run it down the south side of 6th Avenue to the Johnsons. But a Tico gas line conflict.
Okay, Johnson's on the north side, isn't it?
Yes. So we went on both sides. We had to go under the road or cut the road.
But in theory, we would have some connection fees over time, users of the sewer line that would help reimburse the city somewhat. Is that the case?
yes, at some point, if it's approved or designed, this is, I don't know what the length of this is. This is that much less piping that we would have to do to connect the neighborhood in and create that loop system. Currently, we have the line stops, I believe, at Airport Road and 6th Avenue. And so this brought the line a little bit closer. They're at Bell and 6th Avenue is where it terminated.
When did you approve these then?
They weren't all at one time, right? So you approved $96,000 and then
This was
a few weeks later
in,
you did the 12,000. Is that how that worked?
yes, it was the item 3 or change order 3 was August of 25. Change order, sorry. I don't know change order 4. I don't have that one in front of me. Change order. They were all, I believe, I know change order 3 was in August. The other 2, I believe, were right around the same time.
How did we've already paid these then?
These are already paid. The project's complete. There was a question, I believe, from the audit firm or finance was looking at it. And because it's over the city manager's threshold to sign, needs to be brought before council for approval.
What's your threshold?
50,000.
Oh, I thought it was 100.
Yeah, listen, this is 100% on me.
Well,
It should have been brought to council for approval. I don't have an excuse other than DOT assigned it, DOT approved it. It was brought to me. I signed it. I didn't ask any questions. So that's the issue of why it's being brought back today, is I signed a document that I shouldn't have signed without council's prior approval. So, but the project is complete. I believe it's closed out. Project is closed out, correct?
We still have to final out BRW with this 116.
Oh, okay.
Well, and sometimes when you're doing these projects, you do run into something unforeseen. I mean, it happens. I mean, it happens. The project could either be stopped, and then had you known, they'd have probably kept on going, but it could have been stopped and then done. But I mean, I haven't done some projects. I mean, it does happen. The luxury in the private sector is nobody's questioning you a bunch about it, you know. Now, the funding, we have the funding in place for the overages, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And so you're saying some of it's going to come from sewer, from utilities, and then was it a contingency we had for the project, or there'll be a little small amount?
This was above and beyond the contract amount.
Okay, so we're still within the budget then, is what you're saying? Okay, well, you need approval on this, or is this just an information?
No, we need approval.
I'd move approval of this item.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
5.3.
5.3 is City Council is requested to take action regarding the May 25th, 2026 regular City Council meeting. The regular meeting is scheduled for Memorial Day, which is a city recognized holiday, and all offices will be closed. So staff recommends that City Council cancel the May 25th meeting, but it is council's decision. And so I leave it to you.
Personally,
I won't be here, so
I don't have a
Either. I
problem
won't
with
be
it.
here either, so I move approval of this item.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Mayor's announcements.
I'll try to be fast. We have Citizen of the Month on Wednesday. I'm not able to be there. I'm not sure if any of you guys have Wednesday morning open. If not, Billy said he would do it, believe, for me.
Correct.
Yeah. But it's the last one of the year, but I cannot.
I'll text you if I can, I will. So
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I have a client appointment.
Okay, I just wanted to throw it out there just in case you guys one of you wanted to do that. I really did want to thank Rodney and Will again for going with me. It's when I go out to speak at these places where there's lots of people and not always happy people, it really does help to have staff there, and they kind of felt that it's a flow kind of thing, and keeping people, helping them to understand why we do what we do. So thank you guys. And that was Will's first time of being with me. Rodney's done it with me a few times, so he understands how I operate out there. I also wanted to thank Sandra and Billy for getting this, and probably Matt on top of that too, for getting the water's edge taken care of. That's a relief, I think, off of all of our minds, and something that we're glad to have that done, and pray that they don't come back next year with more issues for sure. The Bauduco job fair, if any of you drove by, it was crazy. I took pictures. He took a bunch of pictures. It broke my heart that there's that many people looking for 100 jobs. My only problem that I had with this whole thing is the city's name was on it, and the chamber did it, PEDC, you guys helped with ZEDC. We weren't clear with the public of what the pay scale was before, and that should have been on any bit of their flyers.
I don't know that we knew what the pay scale was. That was not divulged to us.
I've known. They've told us forever what they were. Yeah, but but we pushed it out. We should, it's just a lesson in the forward, because we had people stand there for 3-4 hours and they didn't understand that they were standing there for a $14 an hour job. And 14, 15, $16.
I don't know that,
Minimum wage is 15.
Not yet, but yeah.
minimum wage is
next year will
15.
be.
January it became 15, but it was not our message to push out. It was Baduco said, this is the press release that you're
I
pushing
get
out.
it. I
So-
get it. But I'm saying that we should have probably not, it's done. It doesn't matter. But it's kind of egg on our face because we pushed it out on our stuff, their flyer. But if next time we just need to make sure that their publicist is clear with the public.
Well, let me be,
The range, it could be the range, it could be whatever. I mean, we have a lot of people upset that they stood there.
well,
For-
I mean, not to prolong this meeting, but I don't understand how that's egg on our face. If we pushed out what the company asked us to push out, that's not our job to
Because
say what the pay
people
scale is.
believe that we had a part of that. It's perception. We
Oh.
know in this room, we didn't do that press release, right? But they don't know that. Okay, is that, I'm not trying to be hypercritical. I just want for future that we kind of maybe help them to do a press release thing or a job fair, because I've seen them where PEDC has done them, and they will be really clear that it's between this pay, this pay.
But that's based on what the company wants.
I get it.
So my solution to that is we just won't push it out. And it'd be the company's responsibility to push it out. Because if they don't want to give us or want us to advertise what their pay scales are, how
And
are we going to tell them they have to?
Right, we can't. We
So,
can't, but
I
maybe
mean-
that's, I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be.
No, I understand. I'm just
I
telling you
just-
that it wasn't our say. I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah,
I thought they talked about like $100,000 a year jobs and all this.
they are. But the majority of jobs that they were hiring for this time were the entry level jobs. There was an electrician position. There are some higher paying positions. I will tell you that I had a conversation or had lunch with the Baduco folks today. And what was said to me was they're going to have to look at their pay because they don't know that it's high enough
right.
for the area right now.
Okay.
So that's a conversation that they're going to be having on their side.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I just saying, I think when we went out there and toured it, they talked to us then about what their pay scale they were looking at. And, we've not kind of known what they were looking at, but I'm not criticizing our team. I'm just saying it's that perception of what people, and our job is perception here. So sorry. I know that made you upset, and I'm sorry, but it's a valid point.
Anything else?
Yes, sir.
City managers announcements.
I have no items tonight.
We'll go to the city council comments. No, city attorney.
Oh, he's already got out.
Nothing from me.
City council comments. Start with Mr. Smith.
Thanks. I just want to thank Rodney and Nathan. They came and spoke the last couple of weeks at our Rotary Club and did an excellent job, and I appreciate that. They did the hotspots map, Rodney did, and Nathan, you've never seen him more enthused to speak about the airport, I can tell you. So, yeah, and Nathan, you did a good job. And honestly, and you know this, the more you speak in public, the easier it does get, especially if it's about something you're passionate about, which you are. But, and it was a mob scene at that Baduco job fair. It was a mob scene. I know some people who waited and they didn't get in the door, but they were able to give them a resume, and then I think they went online and applied. So we take a lot of flack sometimes up here, or have. I shouldn't say up here, but on social media, which is, I don't know. I don't want to get started on that, but we did not allow some housing to go in and did MITAC, right? We got shelled for giving Viduco an incentive when we're in competition with 100 other municipalities for this employer. And, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old or something, but I'm getting to where I don't have a lot of use for somebody who says, well, why'd you do that? They get everything. It's like they're bringing in jobs. And at the time, when I looked at Viduca, it was, okay, do you want this piece of vacant land to become an employment center and get $620,000 for the next 10 years to the city and then $1 million plus after that, or zero and 600 jobs? And I'm like, well, of course, of course, but I don't know. Maybe I'm sick. Maybe I've just had enough. But anyway, the staff does a wonderful job. And I appreciate you letting me vent too. So, because it's therapeutic, right? And Amber Smith, thank you for coming tonight. And we do need to conserve that water right now, right? So thank you. That's it.
Councilwoman Wilkerson?
Thank you, President Proctor. So just to clarify, when is your next meeting? When is your last meeting?
I believe it's the next meeting.
Okay. So.
Well, it's as president.
Right.
It's not my last meeting.
Right, I understand.
Not that you know of, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank Ms. Varana for her very clear and concise slides for what can be a very boring subject for a lot of people, but I'm very excited about it. I also want to take a moment to thank the CRA director in Main Street for an amazing Founder's Day, which just, was really a lot of fun. And I hope that I hope everything was successful, or as successful as could be expected. It's a challenge. We're trying, I know the Main Street Board is trying new things all the time, but certainly the food was delicious and the parade was successful. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Spina.
Thank you. I just want to mention that on Founder's Day, we hosted the History in Motion, or of Motion, at the Depot in Depot Park. And it was a huge success. Probably, I think about 2,000 people came. But the thing that impressed me was how many comments we got from people about what a beautiful park. I didn't even know this was here. What are we going to do with the Depot? We brought about 4, I think, bound volumes from the Zephyrhills News. People were asking how they can look at them and see them. They loved looking at that old thing, those old news stories. So I think that, we just have to continue working to, they love the new playground equipment. Yeah. So the whole thing, it just proves that we have to bring people out and let them see all the aspects of the city and what we have to offer, because a lot of people just don't get out much. But anyway, it was a success, and I think it was a real boost for the city in showcasing some of its assets.
And we get to ride in that old car.
And we got to ride in the old car.
That was cool.
And we're going to do it again next year on March 2nd. So stay tuned. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Burgess.
Yeah, and I was out of town that weekend. I was disappointed because I wanted to see Don Garlits, who you had out there too. Cool. So I just want to get cranky with Councilman Smith a little bit there, because I think part of social media's problem is, and I don't do social media, so it's, back in the day when somebody was always running off at the mouth like that, you could just walk away from them. You never had to deal with them, but they just got a big platform now. And I honestly, when I drove by there too, I was very impressed. I was worried when they put the job fair. I said, watch, nobody will even show up, and they're trying to hire people and stuff. And instead we had a tremendously long line. And I'll guarantee most of the people in that line knew they were going for a factory job. They could not possibly be expecting 6-figure jobs in a factory. So I think probably the vast majority of the people there were probably very satisfied that they had the opportunity to get a job. And I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. And I don't have anything tonight, and I'm going to close this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Yay, Charlie.
Yeah, because I'm ready.
My manager called me.
Are you going to be able to make it? No, you didn't respond back. Okay.
Gentlemen, have a good night.
Okay.
No problem, buddy. No matter, Lance.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, I appreciate it. But if you want. Okay. Probably, I was trying to, I'm gonna try and take the approach that I look, before this thing gets too far down the road.
No problem, I'll get it for you. Absolutely. Okay, my friend. I'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye. I was calling in not to come to work. What's that? No, no. Me too. What? Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Got a lot of paper today.
Oh, goody,
There you
goody.
go. I know, you
glad
love.
I didn't say anything? All right.
And I think we're printing out too much.
Yeah, right here.
Whatever, yeah, this is for the concrete pad. And this is for the utility service agreement outside city limits. Mayor Munson. This is the utility service agreement. This is the transporter for Razorback. Transporter for R&M services. Nope, wait, where's the top? Thank you. Hold on, the resolution, I need you to sign as well. Right here, for the permit, oh, this is the grant for the pond. Okay, so this one is ordinance, this is the ear, the first reading of the ear. And then this is the one for his upper Knolls.
We did a lot tonight.
Oh yeah, we did a whole lot.
And we get to get a free night.
Oh yeah, yeah, because you guys voted, yeah, thank you. That's a couple days from my birthday, so I appreciate that.
Well, happy birthday, my friend.
This one was, this is the resolution, I believe. Resolution? Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
This is for the Live Local. And Matt told me I spelled something, so I got to fix that later. Let's see. Oh, heck, I did. Okay. Yeah, and this one is for the historic, for the certified local government. And then this one is the amendment. Yeah, right there. And then I got one, the last one I believe is Billy. Yeah, the last one's Billy.
You good?
That's all you.
All right, bud.
Thank you so much. And then Mayor Munson, sorry, let me get, this is
Good night, y'all. Oh, thank you.
So we'll have, first is, second.
Hey there.
Good job. I didn't want to interrupt your hands.
Man, struggling. That's what you saw. You saw me struggling up here. Oh, man. Who's Rodrigo? If it makes you feel better, you're only the third person to mess up my name this week.
Really?
Yeah.
And I was 2 minutes ago, and I remembered the name.
Thank you.
And I was like,
It's fine.
maybe I got tired from there to here.
I'll just make everybody sit.
Well, I got your card.
Oh.
Man, I remember you giving me the card.
Yeah. And if anything comes up, you can still reach out to us. We'll answer everything that we can.
Yeah. Well, you were extremely helpful when I talked to you.
Don't give me too much credit. I'm just one guy.
Based on what you knew, you were helpful. Okay, we were talking about block.
Yeah.
I mean, even the city guy, waterworks guy.
Yeah.
He didn't even know what he was doing. And then when I brought it up in here, you see the face.
Yeah. Most people didn't know what it was.
Yeah. But I did have a good conversation with Chief.
Okay.
I know he's gonna bring 6, and we're gonna be on different sides of the fence, but I expected it. I really do. It's just, I went down to Wesley Chapel, Land Lakes, and Lakeland within the last month, and we should stood right underneath those signs, with lawn chairs out, signs, blocks falling. And it's not activism, it's better than public relations. Yeah. And it's gonna suck when people start screaming.
Okay. You're doing your part. You're doing what you can.
It is what it is.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by tonight.
All right. Have a good one. Have a good one. See you later. Yeah, one last time. Drive safe.